Yo, what's happening? What's going on? Welcome to another episode of Hope. I'm going to first start off and say I did not plan to do the little coordination thing we got going on.
Oh, damn, with the colors,
and
huh?
the colors.
That's wild.
That is
That's
not
wild.
in the plans, but
That's wild. Shout out to New York Knicks.
real shout out to New York Knicks. Real
Hey,
players.
like I'm not even a Knicks fan, but watching first folks turn it up in New York when they won that last series made me watch the whole game. I love to watch New York show up. Anyway, that was nice.
Anyway, so we at it.
Yeah, we got a lot to cover. Oh, we got a lot to cover. We got some cool. We're gonna double down on the Wolf versus Dog Part 2, but I want to expand this conversation. I felt like Kaja kind of motivated me, and my goddaughter had motivated me. There's a conversation we had, and I think there's some elements here that are missed, that we missed, or that we can actually enhance. Also, too, I think. Well, we'll get into it before we get there, but let's jump on that first. Let's get to that first slide.
You care too much. You care too much. When we were going over ideas of what to talk about this week, this was absolutely on the top of the list, is because this is one of the most simplest things that occurs a lot of times in our community and our culture, is because most impoverished communities, not just black folks, but any community where there's poverty, a lot of times the new currency, the currency in the environment stops being money because they don't have it, and it becomes respect. Mm-hmm. So anytime there's in a community where respect is the highest currency, then you'll see an abundance of people who dumb down and are afraid and worry so much about what people think, because the rules of the culture and the principles of the culture become king because respect is currency, and you see dominance plays, and you have to behave in certain rhythms that if you don't, then you get kicked out of the crowd. You have to fit in certain ways. So outside of money, in cultures where money is not dominant, respect and principles rule, and that's where it's dangerous. And so if you grew up in an environment where there was high levels of poverty, and you pushed money out the way and created a new currency, and that currency was respect and just general principles, GP, you should have done that on GP, right? Those things will create fear in you, and you worry. You're paying attention too much about what people are saying, what they're doing about you, what they're thinking about you, and that will debilitate you. It will cripple you. So when we discussed it before, it's not that you don't understand how to move in the rhythms of a culture. That's not you. In order for you to be successful in the scale and grow and build community, you have to understand the rules of how to move into the rhythms of your community, like respecting. If you call me back, if you call me, I call you back. If I make a promise to you, I have to deliver. If I'm a person of my word, like all those things are basic things that we have to do. We have to engage in when you engage with other people. So saying, I don't care what nobody think as a blanket statement, that's not where we were going. Where we were going is a lot of times your environment created this perfectionism level of thinking in you that doesn't allow you to take any risk. And I'm not talking about jumping out of planes and skydiving risk. It's just a risk of trying something and being wrong, or trying something and being chastised, or wearing an outfit that you really love, but you might have fear of being roasted, or trying a business idea or executing on those things, most people are frozen. They're frozen, and which won't allow them to really get loose and flexible and try shit. So the going on the other end of that spectrum and saying, shit, I don't give a fuck. Matter of fact, I don't give two. Right? That's like, damn, that's a level of freedom that I wish I had. So now when it comes to trying a business, or what if you were a multi-millionaire, right? You already had millions coming in, but you were in the restaurant business. But there was just certain things that you knew you could tweak to get better. And this one restaurant that you would visit all the time, they just got it right. But they didn't know you. Could you spend 6 months interning at that restaurant and just being a gopher for them? Could you? Drive your bucket up there and just gopher for them. A lot of people can't. Crazy motherfucker like me could. I give a fuck.
Me too.
What the fuck you doing in a waitress outfit? What you doing in a waitress outfit on? I'm working. What? Because y'all care too much. I don't. I have a mission and I'm going to get there. So like some of y'all get so caught up in the rhythm of where you want to be in life that taking steps down or backwards or looking broke or looking weak or looking off or taking 2 steps back, just the idea of taking 2 steps back is like, I can't do that. What people think? Well, who gives a fuck what people think? What do you think? What's the best move? Mm-hmm. Well, if I trade my Mercedes-Benz in for a Toyota, then what is everybody going to think? The fuck? I give 2 fucks about what people... Is that the best move, man? Well, you better do it. Get to doing it. Well, people think so highly of me. Man, first of all, nobody cares that much anyway. Most people don't care that much. The second thing is, if you stop caring what people think, then that can allow you to get where you want to go faster. That is, like, that's the impression I'm trying to give. Who cares? Man, I remember when I first crashed, lost everything. For that first year, I wouldn't leave the house. I didn't want nobody knowing. I was embarrassed. Shit, I used to be the throw the money in the air kind of dude. I got all y'all dude. Drinks on me kind of dude. We get in the bottle kind of dude. In that first year, I was like, oh man, I'm embarrassed. What everybody gonna think? So I stayed in the house. Just stayed in the house. Then when things got worse, I didn't have a car. I went from having whatever cars I wanted to not having a car. Oh my God. I ducked, hid. That's why my partner was like, dude, take this car. What is it? Is it a foreign? What kind of car is it? Motherfucker, if you don't take this car, who cares what it is? I wouldn't take it. Ego. I run from one bush to the next bush to get to Bart. I didn't want people seeing me. Embarrassed. Embarrassed like a motherfucker. You know when I start making money? The minute I stop giving a fuck. People wasn't checking for me no more anyway. There's a saying in hoop, but I apply it in life. The crowd is fickle. The same crowd that will be cheering for you will be booing you. Mm-hmm. So as long as you know that, keep that same energy. So the minute I was like, oh man, I've walked all year and I didn't notice this tree right here. It's a beautiful tree. Man, they keep their grass up so good. Hey, how you doing? Mm-hmm. I started enjoying the walk. Mm-hmm. People seeing it, Court, hey, what's up? Hey, you on the right? No, I'm good. The minute my energy shifted to where I'm enjoying my walk, got a car. Like stop caring. You'll free yourself. Oh, you'll free yourself. It's the most freeing, like a lot of the burdens we carry on our shoulders are about what other people think. Man, once you take that off, oh man, you realize how strong your back is and how strong you are. I'm telling you.
Let me. I didn't know how he was going to frame this. By the way, I love that Anthony Edwards shot. But I didn't know how he's going to frame this. But that's actually advanced business strategy. This is advanced business strategy. The head of IBM was losing market share to the Chinese market because they're developing better chips than IBM. And the CEO is looking outside the window, and Moore from Moore's Law walked in his office, and he said, "Let me ask you a question. If we hired another CEO, let's write down what would he do different. What would he do different?" And he wrote down everything that the CEO would do different than them. He said, "So tomorrow we show up, we're a new CEO." That was an act of not caring. A lot of times we're trapped in even business practices and the way we run our business, the way we run our life. And just to engage in a strategy is, if somebody else was to take over my company, how would they run it? That would show you that a lot of times, a lot of your decisions and the way you're running your company is trapped behind you caring too much.
That's great.
That's well said.
That's great.
That was well said.
That's all I got for this one. Any
All right.
Any questions?
Okay. Shakina, want to get this one? You want to read this one more? That's a cold one. Right on, Sydney. Go ahead.
Yeah.
By the way, before we get started, our new website is up. Fight Media Hope website. Some of y'all, Fern and Shakina, looking real fly on the new website. So if they become distracted during class today, you know that they're looking at themselves. Anyway, so go ahead, Shakina.
Behavioral traits a wolf develops that a dog doesn't. Because wolves live in the wild, where survival is uncertain, they develop traits that domesticated dogs often don't need.
Okay.
These include.
So, why are we revisiting this again? The other day, my goddaughter was hanging out at the tracks because everybody goes to the tracks on Sunday, and she was nauseous from her first sprint, right? Or second, third sprint. I don't know. She's nauseous. And so I walked over to her and I said, "Hey, you nauseous?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "So, by the way, this is what crack feels like. Don't do crack." And then walked away. I'm just being silly, of course, right? So everybody knows it's a joke because I don't know what crack feels like, and I'm just using it as an opportunity just to be goofy, to try to cheer her up. And then I said something else to her, and she stood up with a face like, and walked away. I said, Now that was in direct contrast of, we just went to an event for Alameda County where a lot of heavyweight donors in the room. So you know what that signals. Donors mean money. And one thing the donors do that I realize that the poor community doesn't do is they speak and smile. And they're they're encouraging the growth of relationships. And when you listen to if you just ear hustle, if you go to an event where there's a lot of millionaires or billionaires, they're going to keep referencing the groups they belong to and why they connect and why they're interacting with each other. They don't just like, "Hey, what about trees?" And they're like, "Hey, I was at Stanford. You was at Stanford? Hey, what's name was a roommate with this person in '87, and then they went on to go with this corporation. Oh yeah, with Mike. Oh yeah, I know Mike." You hear that kind of relationship tone. In contrast, I go to the hood, folks are broke, and I'm getting, "What's up, dude?" I was like, people don't understand that belief systems cost money. Beliefs are not free. Now I'm gonna get into principles, but let's use trust. right? So I met this doctor when I was running. He says, I'm gonna call you on Monday because I want to get into Oakland Unified School District. So I'm gonna give you a call, right? I see him next week. Did I get a phone call? No phone call. Okay. He said, well, what do you mean? Let's say you take a credit card and you go buy a TV at Best Buy. Bow. Now, there's an exchange fee that company pays. Now, historically, the way it used to work is stores had credit. There was no MasterCard and Visa. Every store carried credit of their own, right? So, because you carried credit of your own, you had a low benefit from carrying credit. You also had a situation where you had to hire bookkeepers and people to follow up when people didn't pay. You also had to harass a customer when they came to purchase something. You also had to tie up money of your own, right? It was this whole expense that when somebody like Visa and MasterCard came along and said, hey, get rid of that whole department and only pay 2.3% per transaction. So, but then it provided these benefits to the customer that you really don't realize how powerful these benefits are. So let's say if Court doesn't pay his credit card bill, the store doesn't know. So he doesn't get harassed when he goes shopping. And at some point, the bank is willing to bear that expense. So the bank makes a profit, but they also tie up a certain portion of money that Court has no connection to. Now he pays his credit card fees, but he's not connected to the transactional weight of carrying that responsibility. Now, in order for a credit card system to work, it relies upon trust. Listen to what I'm saying. Trust. Have you ever used a credit card before? They don't ask you for 10 pieces of ID. They thank you, right? Trust. If you default let's say you steal somebody's credit card and you use the card, if that store moves in a space of trust and gives you that television, the bank doesn't carry that loss. The bank will do a chargeback. Oh yeah, that's your fee. Best Buy, that's your fee. Court Smith, that's your fee. If the credit card is stolen. So can Court stay in business if stolen credit cards keep crossing his table? He can't. So automatically what has to be built into society for a credit card system to work, which allows merchants now to have access to a wider class of people, because first, only a certain class of people can buy Court Smith clothing, right? But credit card says, now I can broaden that group of people who have access to my products, because they can use their credit card, pay 2 or 3, 4 months, 5, 6 months, 8-month payments, and they can pay for that, where maybe Nana can walk in and go, I'm buying that whole outfit, I'm good, right? So that allows the merchant now to have a broader market to actually have access to. But with our credit cards, that market shrinks, tremendously shrinks, right? So we get to a culture where we start practicing white lies. We devalue each other. That the city has to put dividers in the streets so we don't drive inappropriate. That's called economic suppression, because businesses can't function, because guess what? They can't build a trust system. If you can't build a trust system, you can't move money effectively. If you can't move money effectively, you can't compete with bigger companies. Something like trust, just simple trust. If you really want to argue it, you know what would make a hell of a healthy system? If you built a Christian-based society that really moved like a Christian-based society, that'd be a rich society. Because you can actually, it's creating this space for money and relationships and commerce and customers to visit your location, exchange products, all this stuff that can happen behind the scenes. The cost of stealing and lying and breaking trust is so expensive, it will destroy the ability for those communities to build businesses. It's that simple. So values matter. So where am I going with this? I realize that there's this thing where corporate America became a thing, well, say since the 70s to today, where people don't know the difference between business and entrepreneurship. We got people thinking that if you understand corporate, you understand entrepreneurship, or if you understand that entrepreneurs are nothing but a branch of corporate behavior. Corporate is a different animal, is more of the dog culture, and entrepreneur is more of a wolf culture. I'm going to show you this is a study on dogs versus wolves. But I'm going to show you how this is so parallel to the difference between entrepreneurs, how you have to think, and how people who are in business think. And this is why a lot of times we read business books and we don't know there's a separation. Even like going back to Gabby. So when my daughter made this move, I realized she was picking up habits of poverty and not understanding that these habits are habits of poverty, which is giving attitude, disconnected from people, cutting people off. I don't give a shit, whatever, I gotta do me. All of that leads towards economic suppression. It leads to your personal poverty. It leads to an expense. This is an expense that goes along with certain values and behavior. Behavior and values are not free of cost. So I realized that if we don't know how to see the difference between poverty culture and growth culture, we don't know how to see the difference between entrepreneurs and people who have jobs. If we don't know the difference between professionalism and entrepreneurs, then a lot of times we're trying to mix information together and having poor outcomes. Now, the key word you see here is that behavior traits of wolf develop that a dog doesn't. These are behavior traits that wolves develop that dogs don't develop. The first thing it says, wolves live in the wild. Entrepreneurs, we live in the wild. People with jobs, they will often call their backyards wild, call their neighborhoods wild, call the city they live in wild, but they don't live in the wild, right? That's a different mindset. It says where survival is uncertain, they develop traits that domesticated dogs often don't need. Meaning that because we live in the wild, we can see things and sense things that may seem harmless as hell to the dog, that to us means death. So a lot of times you'll see an entrepreneur sound the bell and everybody be like, oh, come on. Oh my God, you're a little bit too sensitive. Until they realize they weren't. This is one of the big divides, even in politics. When you hear the dogs speaking politics and you hear the wolves speaking politics, you can tell the difference once your ear is tuned from being a wolf. Now, if you've never been a wolf before, you don't realize you can't almost understand or hear a wolf. There's a question that says, I asked a question, can a wolf be domesticated? They can't. Because the first thing is that a dog depends on its ability to serve humans. A wolf can't serve a human. 2, a wolf is too volatile. Meaning at any point, because a wolf loves freedom, it could just snap on everybody. The ability for it to just move in society and be domesticated and tamed, it's not a safe move. That's why it's illegal to have a wolf, because a wolf at any moment could be like, fuck it, I'm over it. Have you ever seen somebody who's an entrepreneur for like maybe 1 or 2 years, say, I don't think I'm gonna get a job, and they're becoming a wolf? Try it. You're about to go fuck up some dog houses because it's just not in you no more. Once you get that taste as a wolf and you get used to being a wolf, which I'm gonna get into why that is as we go into this, you're gonna realize you just can't make that shift back to the game. And so we're gonna get into some different stuff, and I'm sure Corey's gonna have some great stories because he's a pure fucking wolf. But as we get into this shit, we'll get into like some separations, and then you can start to hear how when these guys write these books, I sat with 100 entrepreneurs, and this is what I discovered. This is a dog trying to tell you to the mindset of a dog what a wolf does and why a wolf does what it does. I don't even read those fucking books. I stay as close as I can to communication from wolves. If I realize wolves are not talking, I really don't want to hear it, because a dog can be just as complex as a wolf, but doesn't serve the same purpose as a wolf. Mm-hmm. All right, let's go. Next slide. Let's jump into it. Go ahead.
Self-reliance. Wolf must hunt, navigate, and solve problems without human help.
Pause. That's the first one. Entrepreneurs. Every time you hear the word wolf, just say entrepreneurs. We must hunt, meaning we have to go get our money. Navigate, figure out how society is working and figure out how to navigate all the change. Society never stays the same, right? And solve problems without other people's help, meaning that the problem starts and stops with us. We don't say to ourselves, who's going to fix this for us? The first thing for a wolf is there's a problem. All right, this is what we're going to do. That's the first one. So you ever heard, here's a mission that you've heard in our own community. Man, somebody needs to fix these schools. What's wrong with our government? Somebody needs to fix these neighborhoods. Black people are acting up. We need a leader. That's the voice of dogs talking. When you talk to wolves, hey man, I'm organizing, putting some stuff together, man. You be willing to invest in this idea that I'm working on? Otherwise, I'm going to find some resources to get this thing done. That's a different tone of a wolf. But however, a dog, go ahead.
Dogs depend on humans for food, shelter, and care.
Black people, which ones do we control?
None.
So are we moving like dogs or wolves as a culture?
Dogs.
What's wrong with our schools? White people. They need to give us reparations. They need to fix our shit. That's dog talk. Open the door, I get it myself. Or self-reliance, that's wolf talk. Which is, hey, I build for myself. I don't need you building shit for me. I heard somebody in my house say, they made a dog comment and said, yeah, they're going to take black culture out of schools. I said, I don't know what that means. We are wolves. We just put it over here. We don't need them educate our kids about. I don't want white people telling our kids about black history any goddamn way. That's the difference. Like a wolf, I promise you, when I'm talking to dogs, we're having two different conversations, and often I come off as mean, aggressive, unnecessary, because you don't live in the wild. You don't get it. You think I'm mad at you. I'm never mad at you. It's just I move with force because there's so many forces moving against me. I got to move against force to make shit happen. So when I'm with a dog who's not used to force, they look at me like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm just moving like a wolf. Next slide. This is really wolf. This is really a difference between dogs and wolves. This is not me adjusting it for business. Go ahead.
Resilience under pressure. Wolf faces constant environmental threats, scarce food, predators, and harsh weather.
So a lot of times when you're working for a company, you go to work every day and your only pressure you have is what your supervisor places upon you, or the task you've been asked to complete has not been completed, or somebody's disturbing your space or threatening your role in your job. As an entrepreneur, we're facing constant environmental threats, or business environmental threats, meaning lifestyle threats, human behavior, cultural stress, even environmental stress, all kind of. We're taking on all these threats at all time and navigating them, and we're normalizing it, such as a wolf does, right? Scarce food and scarce predators. Often, because of competition, money's not always available. This is going back to one of the things I didn't like about the nonprofit entrepreneur development thing that happened for the last 3 years. They were taking dogs and making them think that once again in this game, that there'll always be food for you. There ain't no food out here like that. You got to go out. There's food out there, but if you don't know how to hunt and get that food, you will starve out here as an entrepreneur. You got to figure that shit out. And harsh weather. Harsh weather mean that things, when you wake up in the morning, things don't go the way you want it. And you still got to move forward. You don't get to call Corey, be like, you know what's wrong with today? I had a hard day because it's just not fair. Of course, like, so what you going to do about it? That's a natural wolf's response. Not, oh man, damn, maybe you just need to go get a sauna and get some relax, get somebody to go work out and get a massage or something and get back in the game. No. What you going to do about it? I'm not saying he can't get a massage. We're not trying to make it seem like a human being is not human. I'm saying that our first response, if you call me, is not going to be comfort. It's going to be, you ready to get to work? That's a wolf tone. But go ahead.
Hey, have you ever met somebody maybe who's a farmer or a contractor? Have you ever shook the hand of a contractor?
Ooh.
Or a farmer?
Come on.
It's like sandpaper, and it's like rough and strong, like he could squeeze your hand. And it's not on purpose. It's just the conditions that he's from. He's in the sun. Like, I'd rather fight a bodybuilder over a contractor.
By far.
Because the their livelihood depends on them lifting shit and walking up ladders with it over the course of years. So they got muscles that not even part of the skeletal structure. Now, I say that to say is in today's society, a lot of times when people come across people like that, they're harsh. It's too harsh. Oh, they're too much. You're too mean. You're too negative. You're too this. You're too that. But those people are a reflection of the environment. So entrepreneurs, a lot of times we come across as, damn, like you so just polarizing in your speech and blunt and mean and disrespectful. It's because we spend 10, 12 hours a day in this environment that forms us into that. Now we can try to come in and play nice, and we try, but internally you hang around long enough, you're gonna get that shit. Like I'm working on a project with this old wolf. He's an old wolf. And you can tell that he's been around all of these sensitive people so much because he says, I hate to sound harsh, but I don't mean to sound harsh. I said, hey, dude, stop saying that. Say it. I'm good. We good. I don't mean to sound harsh, but man, just stop with that part. Just say what you got to say because I enjoy it. You know what I'm saying? And that's
true.
When wolves get around wolves, you cut a lot of that bullshit out. Yeah. You just going straight tit for tat, and informational exchange happens so fast and easy, and that's environment.
Yet, go read with the dogs.
Dogs live with stability and safety with threats minimized.
So that's what most people, if you're a dog, if you're around a dog culture, that's all they really talk about is stability and safety. That is the number one goal. I get uncomfortable if things get too stable. I realize I'm in danger. But to this person who's living in a dog world, that's all they think about is stability and safety and safety and stability. With threats minimized, then doesn't that not sound like social justice at its best? Like, okay, just because you're wolf don't mean that you're right. Just because you're wolf don't mean you're good. Doesn't mean because you're wolf don't mean you're guaranteed successful. Wolf is more or less talking about the kind of characteristics. When I watch Trump engaged politicians, I watch a wolf talk to dogs. They can't handle it. They can't, like literally he's playing with them. Like it was almost like something like a wolf went in the kettle and said, I can get this free food if I'll just mess with these fucking dogs and make some shit happen. I'm not saying I agree with his shit. I'm saying his nature of how he moves and how he'll push a button that nobody else want to push. I'll break that shit. I don't give a shit. What you gonna do? I'm on Greenland. Fuck it. If I don't get it, what you gonna do? Right? That's how wolves, when you're around wolves, they're not trying to follow all the rules. They're trying to create the new rules. That's a big difference. Next slide.
Adaptability and risk assessment. Mm-hmm. Wolves must quickly adapt to changing environments or hunt patterns.
Go ahead, read the dogs. I don't get into that. Go ahead.
Dogs live in controlled routine environments with predictable needs.
So, you ever heard somebody say when they have a job, man, I just would love to get retired here. I mean, they just be firing people, letting people go. But if you sit with me in court, let's say you happen to be talking about this, and you happen to be a dog complaining about your job and this unstable, and they're laying people off, and so forth and so on. We're gonna sit. It's not that we're not sensitive to you taking care of your family or even taking care of yourself, but we don't feel it because in our world, the environment's always changing. The patterns of how we make money is always changing. Court doesn't get to do what Court Smith is doing today for his full journey. It works for now. If the hunt patterns change because of the way society's changed, he has to change the way he hunts or he dies. He becomes an OG business that dies because he wouldn't change his ways. We accept that our forward moving experience is random and will always change, and even things we love is not guaranteed to be here. We have to be adaptable to figure out how to continue to navigate and eat. Once we stop becoming adaptable, we die, right? Mm-hmm. A dog doesn't have to think about that. a dog. I'm trying to find me a job. I went to school. I work for the government. I got me a college degree so I can get this job. So that's it. I'm done. That is not our path. We don't get that convenience or that freedom. We're constantly in the position going, what do I need to do next? Where are we going next? We're constantly looking down the road. Matter of fact, I would tell you that one of the things that scare me about dog behavior is dogs are becoming too short-term focused. They're looking at what's in front of them right now, right? And yet that gives you no ability to protect yourself for the future. Okay, let me help you out. Let me show you a business argument. When you borrow money, who you borrow money from?
The bank?
Huh?
The bank?
No. When you borrow money, who you borrow money from the most? Who you hitting the hardest? Yeah, you borrow money from your future self. But if you don't know that, that means every action you make today, you're creating an expense or you're creating a savings for your future self. But if you only have short-term thinking, you're making all these dumbass mistakes today that you can't pay for tomorrow. And now you complain about tomorrow when you didn't realize that today is tomorrow. Right? That's how a wolf, I have to think like that as a wolf. I can't get caught up in like, whatever I feel, just be cool. As long as I'm happy right now, that's all that matters. I buy what I want to buy. I worry about tomorrow when it comes here. That is not how I hunt. I can't eat like that. I have to literally wake up every day and think about, what is the cost of this choice? What's the cost of this expense? What's the cost of this relationship? What's the cost of this change of pattern? What's the cost of this new group I'm joining? Everything has a cost associated. If I decide to have another child, what is the cost to me or where I'm going tomorrow? I have to have some type of projection in my mind, even when I'm running. And so when I get to work, I don't put on a new brain. I literally go, okay, we're doing this today, and it feels really good. But if we scale that out, does this make any sense? Right? What is the cutoff point to change? Because if I continue to scale this is going to kill me down the road. I can't even afford to keep this up down the road. Even if I'm getting the best talent and bringing in money, at some point, this need is going to outpace any kind of money I can make. Mm-hmm. You see, so in the end, it's like our risk assessment of understanding that what's going on today, as opposed to when you're in a controlled routine environment. It's really easy to buy into pop culture beliefs, which is everything's just everything. Just do what you want. Whatever makes you happy. Just be happy. A wolf looks at you like, that's because you got the comfort of a dog. Because I'm out here in the wild. My happiness is being able to eat and have food stores I could eat the next day or survive next winter. Even meet a multi-billion-dollar wolf, they're still thinking like that. Because a wolf is always going to be under attack. For example, you think billionaires, you ever seen the legal team a billionaire has working for them? Because when you make $1 billion, now you're under another form of attack. So what I'm trying to explain to you is like, there is a huge gap of separation of values of how we engage in reality. Next slide.
Can I?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. This is open.
So this made me think about how we're in the middle of our outdoor build out. Mm-hmm. And I've got these cute kids. They're juniors in high school and they're interning for us for the last month. And they have very schedules, and this is what you do at this time, and this is what and if you mess up, you pick it up tomorrow. And there's this projected deadline with all of these tasks that have cost and paint spills, and you got to replace it and all this stuff. And it was really funny because we're doing this gym build out and we fell way behind on schedule because of time management, tracking and whatnot. And they were like, oh, it's okay, we'll just finish later. And I had to be like, no, and this is why, because of this cost association. So being the owner, I'm like, all right, now I got to make up and cover ground because my responsibility is I control the whole thing. And we had a dope discussion about what does start to finish project management look like to be able to start a task. And they were just like, oh, I didn't realize if I don't finish something today that I may not have that slack to pick up and carry on. And so this slide just reminds me of how integral the ownership and responsibility it is from the difference of being a wolf and a dog. Because no matter what, if you are not taking like ownership on what you're responsible for. A dog can just be like, oh, somebody else will pick it up, or I'll just do it later. But as a wolf, you don't get that privilege to do that. You got to figure it out.
Your survival. I mean, you're regulated by your environment more than you. There's a marriage between a wolf behavior and a real organic marriage to the world they exist in. A dog can create a make-believe world that really disconnects them. They can almost be as Disney as they want to be and be okay, literally be okay. They might even get a job that pays them to act like they're in Disney, right? But a wolf doesn't ever, you can even run Disney. I can promise you, Mr. Walt Disney ran Disney, but he didn't move like he was Disney. He understood because he had to figure out how to hack the human brain to get numerous people to come into his park, spend crazy cash, right? And even be there for days at that, right? That the person who owns that conversation are not having the same conversations as a dog. So if you sit in a room full of wolves, what they're going to talk about is not social media friendly. It's just not. So I was watching Chuck D the other day, and he's talking about that the original MCs, what made a person an MC, wasn't their lyrics. It was, did they have the voice that can woo the crowd, right? And if you didn't have the right voice, people didn't fuck with you as an MC, right? But then I went on I went back to a class when we when we first started teaching, and people's like, man, you're giving us all these books by these white people. And I realized that, oh, you don't get it. Your ears are tuned not to hear certain things. You don't like that rhythm of voice because that voice is not culturally tuned into. But once you get over this side, you start realizing, oh, I can hear that voice now. You have to tune. Poverty is not a thing that we just accidentally fell upon because we didn't finish that one class. It's a culture that we're living within, and we have so many practices that reinforce our cultural poverty. The reason that black people are 14% of society, but only control 3% of the wealth, and white folks are 58% of society, but control 85% of the wealth. It is not because just racism, not because the Asian community would tell you, nah, it didn't work for us. Indian community would tell you, we're beneath all those other groups. It's baked into everything from our music to our language to our belief systems to our emotional intelligence. All that is causing economic suppression. And when you get to the point where you start saying behavior doesn't matter, you don't realize what you just said is, think about this. Okay, let's go back. Let's use your business right now, Shakina. Or even Fur's business of Black Vines. Black folks come in there and they keep arguing. Black people come in there and keep stealing. Black people come in there and they don't value the space and kind of almost disrespect the space. Black people come in there and give each other attitudes. Black people come in there and don't really offer any value to each other. How long does your businesses survive? If the cars are getting busted outside your space, like Oakland, did you guys watch the economic attack that Oakland went through? It's not about cultural attack, it's an economic attack. I get my family in the car, let's go get something to eat. Lafayette, are we going to San Francisco? Where are we going to go? I'm not stopping in Oakland. Do you not get that? Right? But then the hip hop songs are getting worse. And yet no one's saying, Drug problems getting worse. Nobody's saying, Mental health is getting worse. Nobody's saying, Social media is pushing a whole bunch of horrible ideas. Nobody's saying, what's the economic expense of all that stuff? We got to a point where I don't think we understand that behavior and economics are tied together and they're not separate things. Go ahead, Scott. Oh, Josh, go ahead.
To sort of second what you were saying, I don't talk to people about race or these ideas outside of this class because if I go up to black or liberal white people, I'll say what you say and they say that's just coming from a space of privilege and other people can't do that. It's like the social norms and proofs are if a white person says something that has to do with being free or freedom, it's a fact. It's just a matter of systemic racism and power structures that black people couldn't possibly achieve that quality of life.
No, I agree. I don't. Those extreme black liberals they're using a very low level strategy, which is tit for tat. Look, the way human survival exists, if court hits me in the shoulder, is it in my best interest to move forward and build something stronger, or hit them back? But a lot of these popular cultural movements is you did this to me, so I need to do something back to you, or fairness, right? And that fairness strips away healthy strategical dialogue. Sometimes you just continue to take the hits to the shoulder, and then one day court wakes up and be like, "Dan, you built all that? Can I be on?" You're like, "No, I'm done. I'm leaving you back behind because while you was hitting me on the shoulder, I worked on building this company, this corporation, or whatever, right?" But instead, what we've done is we allowed stories, like I could tell you a story of some fucked up shit that happened to blacks, Jews, whatever, right? Even the Jewish community, right? Like the argument of what's happening with Jerusalem and Palestine makes us forget about Ukraine and Russia, which is way worse, right? Or other places in Africa where shit's going south, right? Or let's say, during World War II, we talk about Hitler all the time. No one wants to talk about Japan. No one wants to say anything about how crazy Japan was, how they was wilding out, right? So a lot of times we are very selective. I don't like to try to bring I'd like to over highlight how those distortions shrink the conversations. But I think the conversation of freedom is something that needs to be an open dialogue at all times with all kind of people, because if you ain't never been there, you should be curious. You should be curious to have these conversations. I don't give a shit if it's white, Jewish, short, tall, whatever the fuck it is. This conversation of freedom is really, which we're about to get into later on, and as we get further to these slides.
I want to. Plus, and we talk about it later with the law of relativity. You have to understand. You got to separate yourself from comparing yourself to other cultures.
Yeah,
you ain't them. Your struggle ain't them. Your journey ain't them, and your start ain't where they started. We are our culture, and freedom is a linear line. But what we have to do is stop trying to start the race where other cultures started. We have
come on.
We have to start. We have to run our own race.
Come on.
We got to run our own race.
I don't think nobody ever says that, bro.
So if it takes us whatever amount of time, who cares? It's about us running our own race to cross that line of freedom. And what trips us up, I think, a lot of times is the looking to the left or to the right.
Yeah.
And getting hijacked by other people's movements and thinking we can do it, we can say it, we could do what they do. No, we can't do what they do. So I was watching that Gary Owens interview about him. He was living with this big time drug dealer in L.A. when he first got into comedy and moved to L.A. And he was just spoiling Gary. Every club he went to, he got in for free VIP and all this shit, having fun, enjoying life, all the partying, gigantic houses. And one day, the dude just wanted to stay home, and he's like, "Well, I'm gonna go out too." So he went to those same clubs, and they wouldn't let him in. And he's like, "What's up?" Like, he's like, "You can't get in. Like, if you ain't with that dude, you can't get in." Because sometimes we get confused by hanging around power so much, we forget that we don't have that same power. We gotta assume and build our own.
Well said. Next slide. Another difference between wolves and dogs. Go ahead.
Strategic thinking and pack leadership.
Mm.
Wolves survive through packs, hierarchy, cooperation, and territorial strategy. Dogs, trained to follow, not lead, doesn't need to think in strategic territorial terms.
That shit's so cold. I mean, like I said, this is the end of the month, and one of these days I go further into this. Have you guys paid attention to like a lot of chatter online? There's no strategy out there. Strategical thinking. So when I sit amongst wolves, they want to belong to something. They want to be part of a culture. They want to be a part of a group. They believe in packs. They believe like herds. We use the language all the time. Herds, emergence, herds, collaboration. We grow from partnerships, relationships, right? When we went to that thing at Alameda County, all you heard was people acknowledging their relationships to their herd, their groups, and then how they belong and where they belong to this and where they belong to that. And that was the foundation of how they move. The independence movement. the I'm just gonna do me movement. I don't give a fuck movement. I'm just trying to be expressive and do what I want to do and do me. That's dog talk. Matter of fact, a lot of times you'll find that dogs, like for example, dogs are looking for somebody to give them the playbook. Like I've had people telling me this, they come to class and say, just tell me what I need to do. That's a dog question. A wolf says, I can't tell you what to do. In the day, you got to go out there, but they just want to follow. They want, just tell me what I got to do. Tell me what I got to follow. Mm-hmm. Give me a leader I can just follow. What book are you reading? Because I need to read that book because I got to figure out what you're doing. Mm-hmm. No. Mm-hmm. No.
Hey, you know what's interesting, and maybe it's just me, but when I used to go to clubs a lot, my 20s, to me, the more ratchet and hood the club was, the more respectable people were inside. Because it's a good chance that it's a lot of people in here holding. So if I step on your shoe, hey, my bad, bro. Hey, no problem. There's a lot better cooperation because you in a small room full of wolves. You know where I seen the most riffraff and fights and people, San Jose clubs, Walnut Creek clubs, is because it's more dogs there. So the risk of dying is lower, so it's more just fighting. But like when you go to some shit and it's in the hood, I felt safer because that tension in the room of like anybody in here could be dangerous, I'm gonna respect it. And so I think in entrepreneurship is the same. It's that thinking, is that any moment shit can pop off. Any meteor crater can hit, and we're so I guess seasoned by our environment that we have to, like, there's a level of cooperation that has to happen. Here's an example. I'm an entrepreneur, right? So my name is on everything. So I have to be cooperative. I can't just say what the fuck I want to say, do what the fuck I want to do, disrespect who I want to disrespect. There has to be a level of cooperation, even when I feel like saying, man, shut the fuck up. Like, I have to think and say something different because that tension of being in the wild, I have to swim in that cooperation. Same with the hierarchy. When I came from the corporate world, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna build my company like how I came from the corporate world, and we were pushing this flat organization shit where everybody has a voice. Man, shit. Over time, that organization start rising higher because that's not possible. Because if you're a wolf, you have to have things in place where people understand the dynamic of the corporation, of where you are. You have to understand the dynamic. And wolves talking to everybody sometimes isn't the best. So we understand, respect, and like hierarchy. The others, like, I just want to be heard. I want my voice to be heard. No matter how dumb my idea is, I just want my voice to be heard. And that's where we get in the danger from.
There was Chuck D was talking about how hip hop doesn't have unions and ambassadors. He says, okay, think about basketball. They have to dress a certain kind of way when they engage the public. Because you want mama, daddy, corporations, everybody pouring money into this industry. That's what makes the NBA the NBA. He says, but you got too many dogs. He didn't say these dog versus wolf, but what he's implying, you got too many dogs in hip hop where everybody's doing them and expressing to the point that you're cutting the fucking money off. Because you don't realize that public positioning is critical for industry survival. But if you keep showing up like you don't give a fuck and waving, I don't give a shit, I'm just doing me, I don't give a fuck nothing about this industry, I'm just gonna eat as long as I eat, right? As opposed to like, no, I gotta, but you don't realize that you're only in this industry because cats like, Chuck D or Curtis Blow or these other rappers who came before you, they did hella shit to carve an industry for you to have options to move a certain kind of way. Meaning that they understood, them cats was moving like wolves, going, okay, when we get in these spaces, we got to carve and create these type of things. Chuck D is such a wolf that when Rick Rubin went to hire him, he's like, nah, I don't want to be hired by you, dude. I don't want to be signed. Because right now I can make money out here and go on radio stations and work all these different deals and between the clubs, radio stations. I got my career under control. He's a wolf. He told Rick Rubin, no one's told Rick Rubin no. He told Rick Rubin no 3 times. Because he's like, yo, I'm a wolf. I don't want to be tied down. He said, if I write a song, I'm not writing a song to get paid like that. I'm writing a song because as an artist, this is how I want to express my ideas. And I don't give a fuck about your system. Mm-hmm. That's how a wolf, can a wolf work with you? Yes. But even if you hire a wolf, man, do you realize a lot of our kids in school, a lot of our boys and girls in school, black kids in school, are wolves who can't stand school because they're just wolves? And this is why a lot of them leave school and do so well, because schools are designed for dogs. And so at the end of the day, a wolf knows they don't get to, we got to think about our territory strategically at all times. When I'm out in public, I have a thought behind it. I don't get to just be me. I don't get to just do what I want to do. I don't get to just express or get drunk in public and act a fucking fool. Every move I make, even when I shake people's hand, it's a strategy behind it. There's an order to everything I do. The dope game, back in the days when the dope game was strong, they called the dope dealers before the dogs took over. They called them gentlemen drug dealers. Gentlemen drug dealers controlled neighborhood behavior. They controlled violence. They controlled the whole ecosystem. They even built businesses in those communities. Why? Because they realized that in order to have a healthy drug business, I got to have a healthy community, as well as for me to make sure that I'm not running against the law. I have to design my business a certain kind of way. And then what happened was when the government hit all the gentlemen drug dealers, they launched what we then ended up seeing in the streets in the early 90s, late 80s, where all of a sudden all the low-level drug dealers took over. And all of a sudden the shooting, the killing, drugs spread from just being in this small little neighborhood to all over the city. And all of a sudden you saw this kind of like cultural deterioration where people were shitting where they ate, right? That comes from a dog taking over the system, where a wolf knows even if you selling dope, and I'm not advocating dope selling at all, but even if you're selling dope, there is strategy in a territory. You do not get to do what the fuck you want at no time. You are always thinking about how to be. It's almost like you have a higher level of etiquette. You know how you come from the South, they have how you doing, ma'am, how you doing, sir, how you sit down, how you eat. Mm-hmm. Entrepreneurs have an etiquette above. A wolf entrepreneur has an etiquette above that. This is why you don't hear people like have these relationships talk like, yeah, she did this, I just do that. Why do women get all this? You hear these little silly discussions online. Them are dog discussions. Men don't. Wolf doesn't. We're not having those discussions. Why do I gotta do this? Why that's my responsibility? Why I gotta take care of these things? What if she does this? Why this? That's not our conversation. We don't. When I catch a person and say they're a wolf and they talking on that level, I know you're an imposter. You're a fucking imposter. Because it's not about, are you saying the right things? When you develop a wolf mindset, you don't even have the mindset to feel what the fuck I'm saying if I'm complaining and whiny. You give me like I know a young lady right now, every time I see her, she's, man, this is so rough. Now I just void her when I see her. Oh, she come in and turn the corner. Because she's a smaller dog. All she whines about, oh, don't give me the food. It's too cold out here. And I don't like my dog house. And oh my God. And I'm like, where I'm looking at all these houses around her as a wolf going, I don't know the fucking, just walk out the fence and go get in that house over there. Mm-hmm. No, I'm just using this way. I can't talk to you. Go find another dog to talk to. I'm just the wrong person because I'm going to hurt you. Because I'm going to growl. I'm going to be like, well, fucking die then. And then you're going to say, oh my God, you're so fucking mean. No, I'm a different animal. I'm not the same animal as you. So I can't have that empathy thing. Fuck your empathy. I don't understand what the fuck you whining for when a house is right there. I can't. And so it's not that I'm not empathetic. I'm saying we don't come off as empathetic to a dog. It's not, even when we're trying to be empathetic, they be like, yeah, I know you're trying to be empathetic, but when you say that shit, it hurt me. I hurt you because I said you need to get up earlier in the morning. And the reason you're failing in life is because you want to sleep in all the time, which means your sleeping patterns is trash. And you're hurt by me saying that, not by you waking up late. That's somehow you just projected that. Yeah, it's on you. You know, because any day nobody told me that, and because nobody told me that, I didn't know that.
Hey, my daughter, we went bike riding. She said, "I want to go bike riding in the park this time. I don't want to go around our block." I'm like, "All right." Put the bike in the back of the car. We go to that park in Hayward, and it's like all kind of stuff going on. Carnival. It's a dope park. But we parked across the street at the Target to charge my car while we were going. So she get on her bike, and we're just getting on, to get out the parking lot to even go across the street. And she's like, oh, I'm scared. Oh my God, I'm about to fall. Oh, it's wobbly. Oh. So I'm like, this is the time. So I said, hey, cut all that crying out. You want to ride your bike? You got to be tougher than that. Have some confidence about yourself. Whole different tone. She ain't never heard that tone from me. And she was like, I said, hey, you can't get nowhere with that attitude. You gotta straighten up and have some confidence about yourself. So get on your bike and ride it, and whatever come your way, you have the confidence to take it on. She got quiet for a minute, like, did this motherfucker just lower his voice on me? He never. Man, next thing you know, she's quiet and just enjoying her bike ride, getting it. So she didn't even realize it. She left me. I'm just behind her. And then all of a sudden she was like, wait, I'm doing it. I'm doing it, right? I said, hell yeah, like you're doing excellent. So for 35 minutes, she rode that bike like she been riding it the whole time by herself. Dog mentality, a lot of times, is pushed, and you got to shake it out to be an entrepreneur or have somebody shake it off you. That's why this class is so important. And that's why keeping it real with you is so important. Last week's class was perfect for me. Like, I enjoy watching it. And even if it may seem direct, it was exactly what's needed. It's exactly what was needed, because we get coddled so much. We get comfortable in being in those spaces where people coddling us. But this space, we got to sometimes be shaken out. Hey, this ain't going to happen. All the times where I was acting like a bitch as an entrepreneur, I was so fortunate to have people around me say, hey, man, you acting like a bitch right now. Or to say in more professional terms, like, hey, the reality of it is this. What are you going to do? You going to go left or you going to go right? But here's the reality. It's cold. Splash it to your face.
I ain't gonna do this. I ain't gonna. It's just like
It's cold, but so what? Like, make a decision, and that's what we need. That's what we need.
Go to the next slide. So I don't have no jokes. Go to the next slide. Help me out. Go ahead, Shakina.
Shakina.
I don't know why y'all put me in front of this mic. Not recording all his pauses. Come on.
Yeah.
All right. Alertness and situational awareness. Wolves always aware of surroundings needed for both hunting and staying alive. Dogs bark at squirrels, but doesn't have to track prey or to avoid ambush.
So remember I said I hate social justice? Do you understand that's an anti-economic movement? It suppresses evolution. Somebody told me the other day, said, Donna, do you ever worry about a social justice program growing to a size that would be very impactful? I said, no. By default, it destroys itself.
Because it's not scalable.
It's not scalable. That's what justice idea is not scalable. When certain trends happen in society, right? I have to read books every day on what's happening next. What's the trends? What's history? What's going on? Where are we going with this? I'm paying attention to certain news sources. That's when I'm watching business trends and watching where's the money at. So, for example, I'll give you a good example. I went to San Francisco, and all the retail is closing down, right? But track the money. San Francisco's still growing. So you may see it in one way, the retail as a dog, be like, oh, the stores are closing. Oh, my God. But if you track the money, you realize, oh, shit, this is cool. Why is that important? Let's say you're in the stock market. Everybody's like, oh, my God, the stock market is volatile. pull your money out. Wolf says, no. That's not how it works. Leave your money there. You take a short-term loss, but you have greater gain over time, right? There's a different, knowing how to watch different cues and seeing certain things. Also, too, a wolf brain hurts if you make me watch squirrels. If you make me track small prey, that thing's gonna make me. It's gonna kill my brain because that's so low level thinking, right? Like gossip articles and who said what to what and who and just really small thinking. That shit is just not what we do as wolves. Because if you matter of fact, one of the ways you know a wolf is fucking up if they get hooked on chasing squirrels. You go, oh shit, you're in a bad space, huh? Mm-hmm. It's usually you're in a bad space. Because really, an entrepreneur has to think about so many. You got to think about so many different things that worrying about, what dress Beyonce wore to her last event. It's just so outside of my wheelhouse. I can't, even if I wanted to, I can't. So it's dogs are not thinking about being ambushed. Like they're not thinking about. For example, a lot of times I'm looking at behavior thinking, like I was talking to Scott earlier and I was like, yo, you think social justice people would have ever fought a war? He goes, nah, then that's a problem. Now, the person who has a job look at me like, why are you thinking about war? Because motherfucker, we are in the real world. In the real world, shit can go south really fast. And if you do the math, it's even a 37% chance we can even have another civil war. So when you're always thinking about these kind of things, even for black people, how long you think we're going to be able to act a fool in the streets and it doesn't fall back on us? How long did you think you was going to be able to tell the group that owns 85% of the wealth, you ain't shit and all your sons, I hate them because they're white men? Like, how long you thought that shit's going to last? Now, as a wolf, I told you 4 years ago, yo, y'all, the pendulum over here, but when that shit swing back, it's going to hurt some of the shit we've been working on. And if you go back to some classes, I have it just recorded, and now look at this shit. It's swinging back. And white folks are trying to say, they call it black fatigue. We tired of this shit. They literally, like, it's trending right now. Black fatigue. I'm tired. Fuck, man. These motherfuckers. What about y'all shit? Fix y'all shit first. Why is that happening? It's not that, did I want that to happen? No. Am I encouraging that to happen? Did I encourage any of this shit to happen? No. But as a wolf, I got to watch it and see it happen. So when it does happen, I know how to position myself. When all that money was going out because of George Floyd and all the nonprofit, I remember a white boy came to me and said, yo, you should sign up for this, sign up for that. So I said, nah. Because it's like, you ever heard the situation, don't feed the wild animals? Because if you go away, they will forget how to eat. So that's one of the reasons I didn't take the money. Y'all think I'm joking. 510 Media is not a nonprofit DEI built business. It's a business that's built on straight knuckles to the brick, hitting the wall until we are able to break through that system, right? And so what I'm suggesting is that you gotta pay attention to the bigger things that's happening around you, how the ecosystems, how the systems of the universe works, how spiritual systems work, how everything works, and then know how to navigate with it, how your emotion, how your chemical body. Look, you ever heard somebody say, well, I didn't feel like this. And when my knee feels, I think, they're self-diagnosing, right? And then you go to a doctor and find out none of that shit's the way it works. Because what you feel and what's really happening are two different things. Dogs are sitting around all day long talking about their feelings. Wolves are sitting down going, did you know? Damn, did you know? Fuck, did you know? And then we're improving our hunting patterns because we're learning more and more about, hey, when you make a right here, if you just made a left here, you actually have a heavier advantage. Where wolves are going, dogs are going, I don't even like going down that street because I feel like there's spiritual reasons why I just shouldn't go down that block. And anyway, I have superstition, and you know what? I don't even like green. And wolves look at you like, oh, okay, I'm gonna get something to eat. Fuck y'all. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, it reminded me I was at the doctor's one day and I was like, yeah, I got this pain, my kidney. And she was like, your kidney's not right there. And I was like, I said, oh, well then I think it's right here. She's like, it's not right there either. And then guess what? The pain went away. Like, because the brain says, like, you self-diagnose, you thinking shit is what it is. It ain't what it is. Yeah.
Oh,
Go ahead, Shakira.
That's a good story.
Sorry.
That's a good, but that's actually a powerful story too. Go ahead.
So I wanted to talk about the relevance to bandwidth protection in this slide. So like as an entrepreneur, like I don't follow a lot of the social stuff or like who said what or you know award shows and what celebrities doing, et cetera, because it's eating up my bandwidth and I have to focus on important things. But then I also think about how you have to keep your like finger on the pulse of like what's happening in culture so that you're not like too far behind. How do you balance that and like how does that tie into this?
So there are real rich cultural signals that could tell you what's happening and what trends are happening. Mm-hmm. And then there's a lot of people who sound very impressive and charismatic, or even use their throw their dog collar. You know, I got a PhD, I got a doctorate degree, I'm a reporter, I used to work for this radio station, I used to actually work for this company. You gotta know the difference between when dogs are talking to you and wolf signals. And wolf signals is like, if I want to learn more about hip hop, say I was close to hip hop, I would listen to sources from like some of the IV, what's the name, something IV? What's the dude that's like, he's high up in the business side of it from New York. Huh?
Jimmy IV?
Jimmy IV type dudes, you know, Rick Rubin, like people that's in the industry and are moving and navigating, right? Even like if I listen to R&B or pop music, I would listen to the dude who was doing, who drove, like something was coming from pipelines that's connected to the dude that did, was managing, what's the dude, the famous dude, that, all the pop singers? No, not Barry Gordy. No, he was the white dude. He had the girl.
Brittany. You have NSYNC and
Yeah. No, he's older dude. He's working for Capitol Records. He was the president of Capitol Records. Came up. What's the girl who got overdosed who died? The singer. Whitney Houston worked for Clyde Davis. So I wouldn't listen to rappers. I would listen to Clyde Davis. All right? Like you gotta find, there are people that will signal what's happening with culture. There's articles that Mashama sends me. There's certain things I sign up for. That's kind of telling you where the real trends are happening. And you get those trends to tell you what's really happening in society as opposed to the popular noise.
Like noise.
So a lot of times popular culture doesn't have the truth.
Yes.
You gotta know how to be able to say, what is actually happening here? And then know how to follow those sources. And then also, you got to be able to ask questions beyond explaining what pissed you off. So, for example, what may have pissed you off is this guy ran into this business restaurant. I didn't know why. I want to know why it was that restaurant. I want to know what's the history, what happened before that. The more details you have, the more you can start to unlock patterns that can give you a sign of what's going on. When you keep taking, like when you join, like when black folks said let's protest against Target. I couldn't join because it was a dog movement, right? Because they wouldn't answer my wolf questions. Okay, then what's next? And then what's the reason for that? And then those questions weren't answered, right? And matter of fact, let me ask you a question. Since the Target movement, have you guys heard anything else about what's next? That's dog shit. Wolves is going to work on, we're going for a goal. And matter of fact, when you listen to like Martin Luther King and talk about some shit, he had a goal in mind. He wasn't just out there just like, oh, we're gonna just do this. A lot of them cats who were driving civil rights were wolves, collaborating, driving civil rights, and they had agendas and goals and deliverables and measurements. And yet, what you'll find with a lot of times with dogs or doing stuff, dogs can get some shit started. Their completion rate is horrible because they distracted with the squirrels. They're literally squirrels. Mm-hmm. If you don't get focused and finish this shit, next slide. All right, so let's run through this list, and I want you guys to just trip on this list. So go ahead.
Differences tied to their natural habitats.
Mm-hmm.
How do you want me to read this off?
So just read it for wolf, this, dog, this.
Okay.
Wolf, this, dog, this. Okay, go ahead.
Wolves, food, they hunt live prey and uncertain meals.
Mm-hmm.
Dogs, regular feeding from humans.
So wolves are constantly trying to build their own shit. Dogs are trying to look for opportunities given to them by humans. Keep going. Shelter.
Wolves find or build shelters exposed to the elements.
Mm-hmm.
Dogs live indoors or in kennels.
Okay, so in the translation, having a job and one being exposed to the market and the trends and the risk of being of agency, right? So a lot of times wolves live in the rhythm of agency, but they live with the risk of agency. A lot of times dogs live in a powerless security space, and that means that allows them to avoid some of the natural elements that come along with agency. Go ahead.
Wolves learns through survival, experience, and observation.
Mm-hmm.
Dogs learn through training and reward systems.
Okay. That in itself is why hope is here.
Yes.
Because you learn through survival experience and observation. So it means that when you come to hope, you're improving your ability to develop the skills for survival, and there's a constant learning practice. So there's a need to learn because it's how you survive. They're one and the same thing, right? So when I read a book, it's going instant to upgrade my survival skills. And when I'm practicing my learning skills, it's upgrading my survival skills, right? But because of the convenience of a dog, then there are a lot of times they only learn when the company says, "Oh, I got to send you to training," or when you read a book and it gives you status reward amongst your herd, right? But the chances of an entrepreneur, but a lot of people who have dog roles, they read to say, "Oh yeah, I read these books," or to be able to articulate their point to gain more status with their peers, or to even connect with whatever the top popular books that people are reading, or to be aligned with the stories and be in the in story. Where an entrepreneur is learning for survival. It's a big difference. That's a big difference between a dog and a wolf. Keep going.
Before we go on, that makes me think about how there's often a lot of friction and hope because people are coming with a dog mindset of being like, tell me what to do, give me a formula. And oftentimes they're discouraged because they're wanting a dog formula. They're wanting you to tell them what to do as opposed to, this is where we pull these resources from, go figure that shit out. And that's where so much of the friction, I've been in this class since it started and I will be in this class until it ends. And part of the reason why is because you guys are helping me to create agency and figure out what I need. And oftentimes, I'll invite 10 people every year and one person will stick through it. And the biggest friction point is because they're like, oh, well, I thought they were going to tell me what to do and fix all my problems, not realizing that's not the kind of system.
It's not a thing. It's absolutely not a thing. You're in the wild. The wild is always changing. Even what I did for survival is no good data. It's not even good data for you sometimes. It's weak data. It's not saying that all of it's not good, but some of it's and that means what, right?
Right.
And then two, there's the comfort of the security of being a dog that you're used to. It doesn't make learning an urgent thing, right? Because if you have a job and things are just working out, okay, you just love to read, it's fine. I mean, there's a lot of people who got jobs who just love to read. But it's not part of your survival. You can literally have a job and just get trained when they train you, and you're cool. You can keep that job until it's over. Get a government job, they send you out to training, you get back, you read whatever training manuals they want you to read, you go to this training meetings, you can even read books that the business tell you to read. But an entrepreneur is learning for survival. That is 100%. So when you put something in front of me I can learn, I don't get somebody, there's nobody to tell me now that it's time for you to upgrade your skills. If I don't have that built into me, I will automatically die. So where a wolf will say, yeah, I gotten better because my company, they invested in my training, sent me out here. And then, or here's another one, you're here. This is very popular. Nana, I think I'm gonna go into the floral business. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back to school. A wolf says, I'm going to floral business. Hey, where can I learn about floral businesses? Is there some shit online, some books? All right, I'm gonna build a simple product, and then I'm gonna start building and learning. And as they build and learn, they develop ownership, right? Where somebody will wait to get a certificate, then start the process of building and realize, I don't want to do all that. I just want to get a job in the floral industry, and then maybe I can grow to mature to the point of either they let me lead the company, or I'll lead the company because I've grown to the point I can finally run my own because I built a reputation off of the shoulders of the person who had the company before me, right? That's a big difference. So learning the way a dog learns and the way a wolf learns is two different things. Next one. Social structures.
Social structures operates in packs with defined roles.
Ooh, that's so much. Keep going. Keep going.
Dogs lives in human households, less need for social dominance.
That's so cold. I mean, entrepreneurs. This is one of my pack members. I literally, like, the brothers who are in my pack, I value them so. They're so important to my survival. I need them. I don't look at them as, oh, we just kicking in. They just, we like dominoes or whatever. We just kick it, whatever happens, right? My survival, I need them for my mental health. I need to be able to say, hey man, I'm going through some shit, and Corey be like, man, you gotta think about that different. I go, oh shit, I don't know why I got stuck in that rut. That just happens. I don't know. That's just some human shit, right? You need a pack of. We run in packs. Every year we leave, and it's like we value us leaving and going to spend 4 or 5 days together, just as a pack of dogs, pack of wolves, just moving around through the city, talking about our hunts and how our patterns are changing and what we need to do next. And without that element there, it's so easy for me to start to trick off to the language of the dogs. It is so, because the dogs some of that shit they be saying be sounding so good sometimes. Like, man, you know what? Sometimes, man, when I get hungry, I just look to the right. Food be right there and shit. Just feeling all good and shit. You know what I'm saying? And my new bed I got, oh man, I know you out there sleep on them sticks and shit, but this bed, dog, if you only knew what the fuck how I'm living, right? You be like, damn, you got a new bed and shit? Okay, that's kind of nice over there. Oh, you got a 401k? You got free health care? You mean you ain't paying $500 a month per person? Oh man, you mean you got insurances and shit like that? You got retirement? Y'all got vacations and shit like that? It starts sounding like that to you until you get to see the rope around their neck and you go, can't do it. I'd rather work 10 nights straight. Can't do it.
And you know what's funny? It's okay if you like, hey, I see what y'all do. I'm cool with this rope around my neck.
Which is
And
cool.
some people like that, and that's cool. But like you said earlier, if you got to taste enough of that freedom for long enough, then even when you say, fuck, man, this shit ain't working, I got to go get a job, or this, maybe I'm not cut out to be, I'm going to go get a job. If you spent enough time out in the wild, that job is going to be hell for you. It's going to be hell for you. Even if you got to do it. Because sometimes if you take a loss and you got to get back on your horse and get a job for a while to you do what you got to do. But I'm saying the feeling is going to be hell for you because you already got that taste of what it feels like to be purely free. And so that is why the mentality is so critical when you are an entrepreneur, because you're like, your eyes are wide open because you're paying attention, and the reason why the roles are so well defined is because I can't afford to have no weak links in this chain. I can't afford to. It's critical, and I know what I'm capable of, and I need the person around me to be able to watch my back and my front and my sides. So when I'm working, I'm to the left, that person's to the right, and it's clockwork. And if not, then it's your fault if you got weak people around you. It's your fault.
Next one.
Social structures.
Well, physical activity.
Okay. Wolves walk, hunts miles daily. Dogs, limited movement, daily walks if lucky.
You remember we told you, I'm going to make this really elementary. I can take this further, but I'm going to keep it elementary for the sake of this class because folks still ain't got this one. Remember we told you how entrepreneurs, we got to keep working out? we got to keep moving. We got to keep, because there's a certain amount of energy we need to do. Look, man, do you know how much energy you burn from reading somebody telling you no and obstacles being placed in front of you all the fucking time? And if you're not physically fit, which means physically fit is tied to your mental strength. And our exercise, like when I'm going running and I'm cycling, I'm lifting weights, it's preparing me for my next fight, my next mental fight, not physical fight, next mental fight. And yet I look around me all the time, and I watch corporate people, and they just take exercise for granted. Oh, I'm Mark. If I might move, I might work, I might get out there, I might do something. You know what? I think about going out. I think I might go to the gym. They on a cell phone. Yeah, I'm about to put in these 10 sets. I'm gonna set my camera up so I can film myself first of all, real quick. They work out real hard for 10 seconds. Put my towel on, turn the camera off. I'm on my way home. Or they get on a set. They do one set and they be watching something on YouTube, scrolling.
Hey, how many sets you got?
Right. And then I got 8 more sets. And then you look at they lifting 20 pounds with their legs. You're like, what the fuck are you doing?
And grunting.
And making sounds, right?
Her and that grunting, man. Remind me to leave you.
With 20 pounds.
20 pounds.
20 pounds. She's fair. 20 pounds is fair.
Okay. I be training with Nana, and they be out there like, ugh, and I'm like, that's a warm up. That's like a band. What are you doing?
Yeah, but the reason we take it so serious, and almost every entrepreneur I know has some type of physical routine. Mashama gets up and runs 2 miles a day, right? We're not doing that because we're trying to maintain youth. It's so we can maintain our battle stance, our physical ability, our ability to battle. And then when I see people who are taking that for advantage, I'm like, oh, you don't know the importance of that because your comfort blinds you to the struggle. When you start fighting everybody, it's okay. You won't even know it's a thing until if you're out of shape and then you get in shape and you're like, oh, look at me knocking motherfuckers out in 2 seconds. Look at me winning these battles. Look at me walking into a room where everybody hates me and by the end of the night, they're all spending money with me, right? That comes from a certain amount of force behind you. What we have witnessed is the opposite, which is, yeah, I exercise a little bit here and there.
It makes me think about, working out, it's hard. Like, you're ripping your muscles apart. It's not nothing easy about it. But I think about, like, so many of my clients, like, I have the conversation with about it's not about being easy. Like, I probably had to have that conversation 4 times today. And I was like, yo, more than anything, what you're training when you're coming to Pinpoint is your mindset. Because the workout is gonna suck. It hurts. But that friction is what you need to get to the next level. And if you embrace that it's gonna be challenging, you're gonna get through it so much easier because you're not defeating yourself before it starts. And it makes me think about, like, all of the challenges that we face as entrepreneurs. The thing that makes us get up every day and take on a new challenge every day is because of all of the workouts of the days prior that make each challenge, it is what it is. Like, we got some good days, we got some not so good days, but like now there's this consistency and this flow, and that is the difference between starting off on day 1 or being at day 1600. It's the same workout, but it's a different level of commitment to the friction.
Hey, I just want to say Shakina's maturity is so dope. Like, really. Super dope.
Thank you.
Here's some statistics for you. 10%, only 10% of Americans read. And of those 10%, a lot of them don't get past the first chapter.
Wow.
Because when you're domesticated and you got your degree, you kind of don't need to no more. Same with physical activity. Remember we talked about it? Like, most people, I forget the percentage, but it was a hella high percent, like 82% or more of people haven't sprinted since they were like 16 years old. Haven't sprinted. Because once your body, you're built to be a wolf. But once your body decides, you have the DNA genetic makeup to be a wolf. But once your body realizes you ain't about to do that shit, it'll lose what you got. You'll lose it. It gets weak, and It's like the pig analogy that we talked about, where the farm pig is pink. Farm pig is pink. But if you throw that same farm pig in a wild, in months, it's going to come back with hooves, and it's going to be hairy because the environment shaped it. So it's in the DNA the whole time. It just, the environment, it didn't have the environment to pull it out. Same with us. If we don't push ourselves every day and throw tension in front of us and struggle in front of us every day, then when the struggle happens, then we will be ill-equipped for it.
That's the same rule. So when I was talking about why a dog cannot be domesticated, they were saying that even though a dog and a wolf shares the same genes, that's 30,000 years of human beings crossbreeding this animal to produce a weaker version of it. But they said, if you take a single dog and you mix it with a wolf, just one generation apart, like just a modern day dog and mix it with a wolf, that mixture is even dangerous. So a wolf can be mixed down over time, 10,000 to 30,000 years to make a dog submissive, because the gene that they shared says you can't domesticate me, right? And so it's just one of those things where black people, we've become so domesticated as a culture that we're still looking for somebody to come save us when we're the ones to save ourselves.
Yo, that's a good ass analogy.
100%.
Because it reminded me of that scientific study where they took a wolf and a dog and they put a cage and they put food in the cage, and food was smelling good. So they let the dog go. So the dog runs towards the cage, but he's trying to open it up. He couldn't get to it. But after every single time, after a certain amount of time, the dog looked back at his owner. Yo, you gonna help me? Every single time, the wolf had nobody to look back at. So he just kept trying to figure out. He never stopped trying to figure it out. And that's from thousands and thousands of years of programming of like, I don't know no other way. There is no other people. So this, either I open this shit and eat it or I don't.
Man, so remember we said that hope, I used to say this famous phrase, hope is attacking. What's impacting black people's ability to run their businesses is slavery, Jim Crow, and the crack era. All three of those eras have dampened our agency. And so now we get to a point that we've gotten so used to not having an agency. And the opposite of agency, you know what the opposite of agency is? There's 4 possible definitions, but what the psychology department kind of narrowed it down to is powerlessness. So when you give an agency, you become powerless. And our culture has become so powerless that when we're teaching an entrepreneurial class amongst the people who've got used to powerlessness as our culture, as our fucking culture, the ideas are so uncomfortable and foreign, but something in us can still feel it.
Which is why we call each other kings and queens, but then we move into space of infancy.
Yes. It's deep in us. It's in us. We can feel it. But like, think about this. Where do you hear conversations about us? Where do you hear rich agency conversations in our community? I don't hear them. Somebody tell me. I mean, because sometimes it might be my narrow perception, right? I give that credit. But it's like, hey, let's think about controlling our real estate this year. And let's just have making entertainment and conversations around how we control black real estate. How do we control black housing, food, education? Right? We say it, but how many, when you move through our communities, where do you see ownership of those conversations? Right? Even the nonprofits, so-called, working on those things. Once you actually engage those nonprofits, they're moving on these subjects like dogs, even though they try to talk agency talk, wolf talk. Right? Wolves, you start to see shit. Like, I do know wolf people in certain categories, whether it's food, housing, clothing, survive, all the things that we need as animals is to survive. But we've gotten so comfortable with a dog type culture that we don't even have the senses to know that, hey, that's endangering us. We won't even know we're almost can go with the most popular opinion today over what do we need to be thinking about. And I would even argue that I think our ancestors, if you go back a couple of generations, like my great grandparents and them, I heard more wolf talk from them than I hear today in today's generation. Absolutely. Because their etiquette and when the things they thought about how they moved, a lot of them was saying, hey, this is how the world works. This is how we're trying to navigate. And if you look at a lot of their leaps and a lot of their accomplishments, building cities and building systems and building economic structures, I heard a lot of that. And then as we get closer to this generation, it's almost like we become pop culture hypnotized, where it's almost like, just do what you feel. Just be happy. Just move around. No, motherfucker. It's not, culture is not a free for all. Okay, make it simple for you. Build a business right now and all your employees just do what the fuck they want. Tell me how long your business lasts. So how the fuck you have a culture? And I'm not saying you got to have, you have to have some movement and flow and variations and diversity, because diversity is part of the culture's character, right? But there got to be some out of bounds shit. Mm-hmm. But now online, out of bounds can be overrode by either popular culture or social justice. Yes. Like, how did obesity become okay? There's nothing that says obesity says you're gonna live a long time. I don't give a fuck how we try to flip like obesity it should be an instant sign for us to say, hey, lower your sugar. Hey, go for a walk. Hey. And what you're really saying is, hey,
I care about you.
Keep living. I need you to work on living. I don't know what you're going through, but I need you to live for us. But instead what we're saying is, oh, but what about bodily positivity? Okay, what about diabetes positivity? You think we cool saying that too?
What about death?
What about heart disease positivity? What about cancer positivity? No, that's not positivity. Nobody's got to say, I lost my mother from obesity. I wasn't excited about it. I was like, you know what? At least she was happy eating. That shit hurt like a motherfucker when I lost my mother. And my mother went from a size 201 to a size 24 when she died. You do the math. And don't get me wrong, I'm not blaming her. I'm saying, as a culture, we gotta, hey, come on, man. Let's have some different conversations around here. If we're talking about building and having agency comes with risk. Go to physical, go to the next one, vulnerability.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
As a business owner, particularly in the health industry, it makes me think about, at what point did we shift from, like when I grew up, it was super community based, your neighbors, your parents, your teachers, everybody like was raising each other. And then we got to a point where we got really defensive and feedback became an attack.
Well, the crack era had all these weird responses from horrible raping of our infrastructure. It horribly raped our cultural infrastructure. And some of these characteristics were kind of like the natural evolution of what's next. Mm-hmm. Also, we got bombarded with social media. Look, one of the things I like the book about When Crack is King, white people were doing crack before black people was doing crack. The difference is that white people had hope, so crack didn't have the same impact. When crack hit black people, we were hopeless, and it took off because of all the frustration, the poverty, the hopelessness, and so crack became that sense of dreaming and feeling like we were valuable. So it just went absolutely bizarre. I mean, berserk. The same thing happens with any like social media. Social media that goes amongst people who are performing at a different level, it may have this effect. But folks who are suffering from economic, not inclusion, but exclusion, it's gonna have a different effect upon them. And so a lot of things you saw happening is us trying to respond to economic impotence. It's like between the impotence and a lack of agency, that shit's hopeless. Because hopeless, the reason a lot of us are hopeless, because we're dogs. We're moving like dogs. And so we're saying, when is somebody gonna help us with this? I said earlier in class, we sit on some of the richest part of the real estate in major cities. And we're saying, why can't somebody help us? That's because we've been trained since slavery and Jim Crow and the crack era, which just kind of like just slapped the fuck out of us. It positioned us more like dogs without agency. And look, once again, let me put it in the translation. It positioned us as servants who are powerless, but we're not powerless. Racism is not enough to question our power. We have power. We have hella power. Power, it's like talent. If Court was born naturally talented, doesn't mean he's going to get into the NBA. In order for him to get an NBA, he has to practice and develop that talent to be mature to qualify him to get to NBA. Black people, we can be super powerful by birth, but if we don't practice and develop it, then we can't compete with other groups economically. It's that simple. It's not about the NBA is hating on us because they're not letting me in. Everybody know I can jump over a car. Oh my God. No. Fuck, even if the NBA doesn't let you in, a wolf says, fuck the NBA, create our own shit, like Ice Cube did. Ice Cube made a wolf move. He said, fuck it, man. Hey, I'm about to take advantage of this shit over here. And that's why I was like, Ice Cube, go ahead, boy. Respect to you. But where dogs are still knocking on the door every day, you're not gonna let me in? Or can I get a job? Can I be a commentator? Or can I mean, come on, man. Well, since you don't let me in, then I don't have a life. I don't have nothing no more.
Yeah, another reason, Shakina, is lack of trust from those eras. So you from a survival perspective, you start creating these heuristics that you pass to your children. And a lot of them have to do with lack of trust, survival, and scarcity. So what then happens is you end up choking yourself out. You choke yourself out, your success out. Because now I'm pushing away good information, just as well as the information that may not be good, but I'm pushing it all away. So it's really, we grew up like, fuck the police, right? Fuck the police. But if you really break that down, all the police. So if it's fuck the police, then let's erase all the police in the city. Then now what? Let's be honest. What happens then?
Chaos.
So
everybody getting killed.
So it becomes chaotic.
By none.
So it's not, that's not a scalable philosophy, right? But just in day-to-day living, whenever I see a police growing up, I'm like, because it's ingrained in us. And it's enough of those things that lead all the way up to even being in this class and hearing you suggesting a book by a white person. It's the same mentality. Yeah, like some white folks got wisdom like a motherfucker, like, and I want some of it, so I'm gonna read that book. But the natural response in a scarce mentality or survival mentality is if I put my hand on a hot stove and I burn my hand, most people move the stove out the house and don't touch it no more. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's one. On this one.
Wolf must defend itself constantly. Dogs protected by humans from threats.
So when you have a job, you're protected. You don't feel all the threats of society. You don't feel all the threats of the economy. You don't feel all the threats of change. You don't feel the threats of competition. You don't even feel the threats of anything. Entrepreneur feels them all the time. It's a cost. Do you know how many phone calls we get from government going, you go with this fee, you got to pay this fee, you got to cover this insurance, you regard this. I pay so much fucking money. I got insurance alone is a separate employee by his fucking self.
Most expensive.
By its, like, it's a complete it's a complete salary for a paid employee. And then I got penalties and fees, and then you got the people who are just coming for your businesses all the time, and you got to weather those storms. There's some youngster right now that's about to threaten me in the next 2 or 3 years. I gotta whoop that cat's ass, and I may have to leave that pattern and go find a new pattern because he might knock my pattern out the game. And I gotta still survive. I don't get to say he beat me at this strategy shit, so I'm just gonna go home and just quit. That's not what happens. It's like, at your age right now, you're stronger here than you were over there. Now, when you were younger, you were faster over there, but you're not that. To catch that kind of prey requires speed. So you chasing gazelles, probably the smartest shit in the world. You might need to just go in there and sit with them little female wolves right there and position and work with them. So when they make a move, you be like, "Can I get a bite?" Like, I know that's the old Oakland version of wolfing. You understand? Oakland wolf. Go ahead and freedom versus control. Let's go move on.
Wolves complete freedom but high risk. Dogs least freedom but high comfort.
If you ever work in an office, tell me that's not how office people talk. They always talk about, yeah, I'm trying to get this job. I gotta get it. You know what? And this weekend I'm gonna go. I'm going on a trip. I'm gonna get a massage. I went to the wine country. I went and got me a nap in. Oh yeah, I need to get some rest. You know what? My back has been hurting me, but I'm taking this new medication. Tell me that how it works and all. How many times in the office you hear about all the quick hacks on diets? I'm trying this new diet called don't eat lettuce. So I eat everything besides lettuce. I don't eat rice personally. Like you sit with them going, what the fuck is? Ain't nobody talking about working out. I remember you've been in a corporate office. It's like, why is the constant theme comfort? Where with entrepreneurs, we accept that this game we're playing is risky. We don't. When you start talking about how scary it is, I'm looking at you like Are you over amplifying security? I'm looking at you like I don't know what the fuck this means. So it's critical to understand that. And then the last point with this one is that when a dog decides to come out here as a wolf, you know what usually shocks them the most? It's all the risk. Mm-hmm. They're like, wait, you mean if I don't make the money, I ain't gonna be able to eat? I can like not pay my landlord and I can be on the streets? Yeah. Oh, how y'all do this shit? I'm gonna give me a job. Right? It's like, yeah, it's designed to say, if you don't perform, you don't eat. And we don't give a fuck. And it's gonna make you better. Matter of fact, I never forget this. A dog talks. My mentor is a big wolf, right? One kind of wolf that should be in the horror movies because the way his mind worked. Dog went to him one day. And no, it was me. I was still a dog. It was me. Fuck it. It was not somebody. It was somebody. It was me. I was still a dog. I had a job, and it was a whole bunch of us sitting around. So I walked up, and the wolves are hanging out talking, and I walked up to them in the middle of the wolves, and I said, "Man, I just got fired." You know what he said to me as a wolf?
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Yeah, it's gonna make you better, boy. What you gonna do now? I said, this motherfucker say congratulations. I lost my income. He's like, yeah, you come out here. You want to come out here with this wolves? You want to come out here with us? I was like, yeah, but I just lost my income. I'm in the dark. So then I became a wolf, and then people come to me. I just lost my job. I'm like, congratulations. And people look at me like, and I'm like, oh, that's right. It's offensive because you're a dog. You don't get it. Right? Like if he said I failed, I would say to him, all right, cool, what'd you learn? All right, what we gonna do next? That happened with me and Fern. What'd you learn? What you gonna do next? Not, oh man, fuck. You watch dogs talk about losses? It can last a week. I can't believe they didn't see what you were doing and how valuable you are. This is why they don't appreciate the black woman. Wolves like, they don't need to appreciate you. That ain't the game. This is wild. They don't own the wild no more than you own the wild. If you're still looking for them to bless you, to have access, or for them to tell you you're valuable in order for you to feel valuable, you're a dog. I don't need you to tell me I'm valuable. I'm a wolf. Nature tells me I'm valuable by how I eat. Come on, man. That's why it's so hard for me to listen to. I'm like,
tells me how valuable. That's a bar.
Come on. It was so hard, dude. I don't feel valuable. That's why when something's like, no, I don't feel valuable. I'm like, well, what do you do that's valuable? That's a wolf way of responding. A dog says, no, girl, you are valuable. Nah, bro, you special, bro. You a king. If you feel like you trash, maybe you'd have a trash ass lifestyle. Get your shit together. That's how wolves think. But you want me to work on translations. Oh yeah, wait. I'm talking to a dog. Bark, 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 bark. What the fuck you want me to do? What the fuck you want me to do? It's not what I do. Fucking talk like no dog. Next slide.
Oh my God, he got me hurt myself. Entrepreneurial insights. The wolf develops anti-fragility, the ability to grow stronger through chaos.
Did you see what I just said? Wolves grow stronger through chaos. Go ahead.
The dog develops dependency and comfort through obedience.
Wait, say it again.
The dog develops dependency and comfort through obedience.
Now you see why your kids are struggling in school, who are little baby wolves who want to be a wolf, and you're like, no, son, be a dog. Are they gonna put you on that Ritalin? And so you put that wolf on Ritalin, and all of a sudden the wolf is like, what's wrong with the wolf? He can't even growl no more.
A lot of times parents don't want to put in the work because it's irritating. It's work to have to deal with a kid wolf.
Hey, my nephew, Lil Kai, that's my heart to the highest. You talking about a little boy that when I see him, he represents pure love to me. Like when I hug him, it's like I feel like I'm just hugging the word love, right? If Kai was in this room right now, everything's in danger. Everything in this room is in danger. Fuck your shit, I'm gone, right? Everything's in danger. And you might think if you used to a girl kids are different than boy kids, right? So a girl can come in this room and she can probably go there and color. And she's cool. Like my daughter, Dad, I want to leave. I'm hungry. I don't like her. That's my daughter, right? Kai, no need to know that at all. He's going to knock everything over and then we run up and down the hallway and his dad's like, would you stop, right? Here's what you don't see. The other day, Kai loves construction. He loves anything that has to do with construction, building stuff. He loves tools. Kai, like that's how his dad raised him since day one. He was playing with drills at the age of 2 or 3, like sharp ass drills, right? So he loves construction. A construction truck that with the extension arm for lifting stuff pulled up. Yeah, when the cranes was built on the truck, pulls up. Kai goes, "Oh, Dad, let's go outside. Let's go see that." So they stood there for 5 minutes. Pop's like, "Let's go in the house." He's like, No, I don't want to leave till they leave. Kai put up a chair, sat there for an hour and a half and watched that truck and watched everything they did and did not move. Meaning, does he have focus? Yes, he does. Mm-hmm. But a boy don't focus on shit they don't give a fuck about. Mm-hmm. A boy has a different energy, a testosterone in their body that allows them to move a certain way. But when that boy finds something he or she really he likes, oh, he locks that shit in. And that's how a lot of our kids, even some of our girls are wolves, right? If you don't know you have a wolf in the midst, my daughter beats my wife up with her wolf behavior. My daughter loves agency over everything. Like agency is the most important thing in the world. I gave my daughter 2 apps to learn from on iPad. My daughter done download 3 more apps my daughter's at home doing more classes sessions than anybody does in school learning on her own. If my daughter could do shit on her own, she is happy as fuck. But if you try to tell my daughter what to do, time like just do this, she'll look at you like, yo, I'm out. I can't do this. I can't give me a chance to make my own decisions for myself. And so I have to, as a father, be like, yo, babe, you having problems because you keep trying to tell her what to do in this situation as opposed to give her some options. Give her choices and she will roll like the wind. But once you're like, get up, do this, okay, move over, she look at you like, you're talking too much, you're screaming at me. I don't like the way you're talking to me. Just no. Like I'm not lying. It's like, and the cold part, before she came on this earth, that's how I used to tell. I'm like, babe, I know you're not talking to me like that because nope, don't work for me. So I watch my daughter going, damn, that's crazy. Where my son, he's different. And he adjusted to my wife telling him everything. He's struggling in his adulthood to become his own man because he got used to obedience to mom, not school. He did horrible at school. Obedience to mom. And where my daughter is, you see this different relationship to agency versus obedience. So a lot of people who do good in obedience and structure, and there's a lot of I would say most human beings do better in that space, right? Then obedience doesn't seem like a bad word. Dependency doesn't seem like a bad word. To me, dependency is a threat. And it's not, I just can't stand it. If I have to rely upon you for a job, let me show you how cold it is. I can't even have one good client. If one client says I'm gonna pay you $10 million a year,
well, that's all your eggs in one basket.
I did that. So when we first started growing, we had this big pharmaceutical client, and they gave us hella money. So we started putting all of our interest on this one client. This is when we first started. It was just me and Mashama. We put all our thoughts on this one client, and then they went away one day, and I was like, "That's the dumbest shit I've ever done. What the fuck I do? Play this you over like this one relationship. So now I get a client. Okay, cool. When they're in front of us, they're everything. When they're not, let's figure out how we're gonna manage our system."
Diversify.
Yeah. Keep reading that one.
If you live in a dog world, you're safe, but potentially underdeveloped.
That's the key word. This entrepreneurship develops us like you. Once you become an entrepreneur, you reach new heights of your human existence that you didn't know existed. You might think you're mature in a dog world because the expectations and the pressures of life only pushes you to go so far. Mm-hmm. If you want to see your true potentials, when you go out in the wild, you really find who in the fuck you really are. It's no different if you really went camping with some real people who know how to camp. You'll find out a lot about your human behavior that you didn't know existed when you're forced to live in the real elements. When you become an entrepreneur, the reason entrepreneurs are usually stronger people is not because they're genetically stronger. They're not. It's the wild that made them genetically stronger.
That's real. Another thing is the culture needs more wolves. So it's not about turning everybody into a wolf, because that's not going to happen.
Never.
Vast majority of people are going to be who they are, and that's fine. We need the hierarchy of society in that manner. What we're saying is the world needs way more wolves, because there's not enough in our culture, and there's not a hierarchy in place that allows there to flow wisdom down and organization down for us to perform. So that's the purpose of this class, is to how can we build more wolves so that we can all go out and be the 1-3-5% that's leading the way and taking responsibility for the way and taking agency over their neighborhoods and their environment and over their finances, versus being smart enough to be a wolf, being talented enough to be a wolf, to be good enough, but just like, yeah, I don't want to do that. Nah, we have a responsibility in some cases. It's like seeing somebody who 6'6", 260 pounds, hella yoked, hella athletic, just lazy. I don't want to go to the league. I don't want to be an athlete. I'd rather
Earn
just
flowers.
walk around and be cool all day. Like, you got to do something with that, and most of you guys here and people that's watching, like you're watching this class, carving out 3 or so hours of your time because you want to be a wolf. And that's and you got to take that responsibility on.
I think of it like the wolves are our contribution to balancing out the ecosystem. Like, if you remove a prime predator, the whole ecosystem goes to shit, because
So true.
you need to have an apex predator and then secondary and then, everything beneath it. But when there's a disbalance, then everything goes to shit. And so it's like, if everybody is so docile and so comfort and so fragile, we lose our competitiveness because everybody wants to be normal or comfortable. And it's like, there has to be a percentage of us that are ready to die or sacrifice in order for us to make it long term.
America has that built into the system. Like,
So true.
what do you think the Pentagon is? It's a wolf-based system. It's looking at the real world that has real thing on the real pulse. What do you think the CIA is? It's a group of wolves moving through the world, working on positioning. Like, there's so many different things that we have in society that does move with that ownership of that role. And when you get to a point where comfort over everything, then that means you're getting used to powerlessness. You're becoming, and slowly but surely you slip into hopelessness. Finish off the sentence.
If you live like a wolf, you suffer more, but you also build skills, grit, and leadership.
So do you guys see the parallel between why we work out? We practice suffering all the time because that's what we do. But we also gain from that suffering skills, grit and leadership. Grits. You know what I'm saying? With a little butter and a little bit of sugar. You understand me? That's why I need to suffer for some of that. But anyway, point is this, you understand me, is that, that's hella funny. But the opposite side of that, the return, the benefits of that, it's almost like you admire somebody with an amazing body, but you don't admire the suffering. You got to realize that you got to learn to respect the suffering. Otherwise, what you're doing is you're using shortcut weight loss trends to try to accomplish what somebody goes through. Or you're getting your body operated on to only find out that those short-term solutions may give you 1 or 2 days of feeling like you're one of them, but you're not. So you can put on a wolf costume all you want, but when the fight starts, you're going to find out real fast you're not a wolf. And what made the wolf actually fight so well is all the grit and struggle that has been going through allows it to fight through those elements and survive. Mm-hmm. Like if you raise, we could almost assume this. If you take a wolf and you raise them in a zoo their whole life, the day they're born, and then one day you just drop them by themselves in the middle of the woods, you can anticipate a high chance it's going to die. because it didn't develop the mental, physical element, even though it's in their DNA. Now, if you drop it amongst a group of other wolves, it's a higher chance it's going to survive. Not saying that other wolves may not kill it, because wolves don't play that because of competition. But it's one of those things that once you realize that this wolf thing, when I hear professional business people or people with corporate jobs, they're talking the same language. They're not talking the same language. They're dogs trying to talk to wolves about wolves. That's two different languages. They both have professionalism. They both have business concepts and business principles. They both deal with money and math. But they're two different natures.
Hey, you know what's dope about the wolf pack? Is when they travel, you know where the alpha is? In the very back. Alpha's in the back. The old wolves are in the front. They set the pace. The next strongest wolves are behind the elderly, just in case they get attacked from the front. And then the kids and women, the women wolves are in the middle. And then the next strong wave is in the back, and then the alpha's in the back. It's structured. It's, I guess, thousands of years of trial and error created structure. And so we're in a society right now where we're like, fuck structure.
Gotta have it.
But you gotta have it. You gotta build it. And you gotta not only build it, but fight against the wave of the whole lack of structure movement, because that's not sustainable. But that's why this wolf and dog shit is such a beautiful correlation to what entrepreneurship is. It allows you to sit back and think, like, damn, like, what stress am I putting myself through to prepare for this entrepreneurship? If you can't go to the gym, then damn, like it's gonna be tough for you, because when you get hit, you're gonna get hit, and you're gonna sit for a minute, because you ain't put yourself through nothing, and you don't know where it's gonna come from, how hard it's gonna be. So that training has to be in preparation for the unknown.
Yeah, and it's coming.
And it comes.
Pause. I pause me and then pause you. That's an equal pause. Equal pause. I pause first.
All right. Next slide.
Next slide. So agency. I'm gonna move a little bit faster on this because I want to get to course. I actually worked on course. So, agency. Why is freedom important? What does business and agency have to do with each other? You can't have agency without strong businesses. If Oakland alone had 10 strong businesses right now, Oakland would change overnight. Any black community would take on just 10 strong businesses. They can hire employees. It would reshape the culture overnight. But if I want to get into, like, why is agency important? Because sometimes I think we in a modern day culture that's gotten so comfortable with not having agency that we haven't really discussed why is it so important. So next slide.
Ownership over outcomes. Leaders with agency take responsibility rather than make excuses.
Oh, y'all! How many times we taught radical responsibility in this class? Keep going.
They don't wait for permission to act. They initiate change.
They don't wait for permission for somebody to say you can solve this problem. They start solving the problem. I remember that there was during COVID, there was hella potholes, and this group of white dudes was like, yo, I'm over that shit. So they went online and figured out how to fill a pothole. They started filling the potholes. Like, I don't want to drive on the fucking streets. But a person who doesn't stand agency, somebody needs. On my block, if I walk down the street, I see trash. On my business block, if I see trash, guess what we do? We exercise agency. I don't say, see, you need to clean this up, and these neighbors need to stop messing up, and these kids need to stop dropping trash. Think about how much agency the black community doesn't have. How much trash you see in the black community. Why is that a thing with so many souls walking down the street? No agency. Why is it that, do you realize that the trash, the crime, the behavior, the fire engines running all the fucking time, the helicopter flying over is economic suppression? You know how difficult, Okay, you don't think it's hard to run a business in economic suppression? I challenge you to go to 74th, 78th, and MacArthur and open up a business and see how long it lasts. And just pay attention to the shit you're going to deal with because of cultural deterioration. Doesn't mean they're bad people. It's if we're not paying attention to cultural behavior, we don't realize we're threatening our ability to survive as a business. But what's before that is we don't have cultural agency. Cultural agency is still, like, for example, when my neighbors have a certain behavior, I have to go outside and be like, let me come talk to you real quick. Man, hey, what you did last week? I remember one time the neighbor's nephews pulled up and was doing a video in front of the house, and dudes had the red cups and he was throwing it over the fence. Oh, I got on the phone, started calling folks, called what's his name's father. The dude's a rapper, I knew his father. Yo, your son over here doing a rap video, man, throwing his people throwing plastic cups, man. We ain't doing that shit on my block, bro. You gotta figure this shit out. He called, you saw his son, all of a sudden you saw people pack up and they gone. That's agency, right? It's just one of those things where, are you taking agency over your situation? Or are you waiting for, I had a motherfucker, I seen somebody go, he moved in with somebody and go, I hate their bed. Buy another bed. You stand with that person. Agency. Like literally agency, oh, they gave me a raggedy car. Okay, then fix it up. Agency. Like you going with this, like blame game doesn't work too well with somebody who has agency. Keep going.
Mindset shift. I can influence the outcome replaces I hope someone fixes this.
Tell me that ain't black culture. Next slide.
Creative problem solving. Agency drives innovation. When you believe you have the power to act, you look for solutions, not just problems.
Okay. So when black people sit around and talk about racism, are we talking about it from a space of agency or powerlessness? Powerlessness is, yeah, if we did a thing about Black Wall Street and they did this to us, they did that to us, they did this to us, did that to us. Somebody who has agency says it's always a possibility. It's always something you ain't thought about. But before you can get to the point that you can innovate, you got to believe that you can innovate. The reason black people are struggling with solutions, because we lost hope, we lost agency, we don't believe we can. That's why in this class, we keep telling you, white supremacy is not a discussion for it. We don't care about, look, I'm not pro or anti-white people. I'm cool with those who I'm cool with, and I don't fuck with those I don't fuck with. That's just my end of my conversation, right? And those I don't fuck with, just like there's hella racists that don't talk to me every day. There's hella black people don't talk to me every day. I don't sit around talking about, I don't understand why black people don't talk to me. Like, I have agency. So I fuck with those who fuck with me, and we build. We build. That's it. We build. But when you're around people who don't have agency, they will over leverage the problem over talking about solutions. Go.
You are more likely to question norms and think outside the box.
So this is how we always do it. That's how you always do it. That's agency. Keep going.
Example, entrepreneurs create new markets because they don't wait for someone else to give them options.
Come on.
Come on. We ain't waiting for no white folks to give us no options. If you want something done, you're not waiting for cities to give you options. You're not waiting for the administration, government, or the group, or the organization, the design, Papa Don, super high level authority of the PhD, senior Jesus Christ, goddess. No, we just get shit done.
You know what? This is a theory. It's not a fact. But this is one of the reasons why I think entrepreneurs are good at a lot of things. Not because they talented at a lot of things. It's because they need agency. They're not waiting around.
That's well said.
They ain't waiting
That's
around
well
for
said. You ain't
nobody
never
to
lied.
do it for nobody. Like,
Come on.
Give me the book. Let me read it. Let me figure it out. I'm going to stay up all night until I figure this out.
Come on.
So then they're like, how come you know how to do that? How come you know how to do that? Because I've been in situations where I had to and I didn't have nobody. So over time, you build these skill sets, and the dope part about it is those skill sets marry each other to make you even stronger. Because now, because you know a little bit of physics and a little bit of construction and a little bit of electronics, now you can invent some shit. But how'd you know how to invent? It's because I was stuck here, and stuck there. Like, entrepreneurship is a frequency. It's a way of moving. And agency is the foundation of how you think.
Well said. That's so true. I never thought about that, but that's actually how I developed a lot. I can't explain to you how many weekends I learned this from my mentor the first time I ever saw this. He was building his first house for himself, $5 million house back in the 90s up in Oakland Hills. Multiple stories. It was crazy big ass house. And one of the requirements was put in a sprinkler system. So he had a budget, and I think the sprinkler system was like 30,000, 50 grand, some crazy amount of money right there, right? The cat's like, oh, I'll do it. He goes, I just want to give it this weekend. And what he says, he said, I'm gonna spend the whole weekend in the house, in the bed with this book. He built the sprinkler system that month and passed inspections because he believed in that. Okay, I pay somebody because I understand that time counts, but at some point, I want to own. He owns agency over everything, and so at the end point, when he tried to trap him in a corner, even when he the city did some shit, he was the first person to sue the city of Oakland and win like over like $3 million because he had just bought this house. And he's trying to stabilize the house so he can decide what he was going to do with it. City jumped over the fence and said you were doing some inappropriate practices and put a cease work on him, right? And he's like, no, you can't do that to me. And he's not a lawyer. So he went, got hella law books, sat down, spent the weekend, went to court, whooped that ass. Agency, right? You hear these stories. Almost every entrepreneur can tell you stories like this over and over. Well, this is not even my skill area, but you gonna tell me what I can't do? Agency.
Hey, when I was young, one of the dope things that I watched my dad do, he had barbecue restaurants. So he wanted to open up a barbecue restaurant on 98th across the street from that park. And it was like a residential home. And so he wanted to put a pit in there. And the city was like, no, you can't do that. He's like, you have to get an architect to draw that up, and then we have to approve it. I don't know if you guys know now, I drive by it all the time. It's like a turquoise building now, but it's right across the street from that park next to the gas station. So I watched my dad go buy blueprint paper and a ruler and drew a pit and signed a fake name at the bottom, got the shit approved, and then built it at the barbecue pit. And we was open.
I did the same thing, bro.
He opened it.
The same thing. I drew my own blueprint. I did my own architectural blueprint. I had bought a house in West Oakland and I ran out of money, and the city came through and stopped everything on me. And it's like, yo, where's your blueprint for this? You gotta get a blueprint to continue to work. And I only had so much time to finish the work. So this is when the computers just came out, and everybody's doing blueprints on CAD. I knew nothing about no CAD. I knew nothing about the rules. So I went and got blueprints for dummies. I read hella books on around blueprints. I called some cats who were architects, asked them questions, drew that shit up with CAD. I'm literally was learning CAD on the fly. Never used CAD a day in my life. First time I go down there, he's like, this door's off. This door is the wrong size. That doesn't make any sense there. All right, cool. Can I make any more notes? Anything else you want to show me on this? That's wrong. He went through all the things that were wrong. Went home on CAD, fixed all that shit, got the shit approved. Never been an architect a day in my life. Figured that shit out. Agency. Next slide.
Confidence and
Oh, come on now.
efficacy. Agencies build internal confidence because every action reinforces the belief, my choices matter. This encourages persistence even when outcomes are uncertain.
If you're an entrepreneur, you don't have agency, this is an area of failure. I constantly, for example, I would call a company and somebody say, no, we can't do that. My brain doesn't go, oh, okay. My brain goes, oh, you don't do it for you. Or that's what you think. You might be new or something. I can't believe that you can't do that. So I'm gonna reach further into this. And I eventually get things done. To a point, I got a reputation now with family members like, oh, have none to take care of it. He'll get it done. Even car dealerships. I get deals that no one else has ever gotten. People are like, how do you get these car deals? Because I walk in there, I'm like, oh, I don't give a shit about this MSRP. I don't give a shit about what the salesman is telling me. I've already calculated what I should be paying for this. And you tell me, the first person tell me, it's nowhere in the world you're gonna pay that. Okay, I'll call you back. I'm done. I told you the first time when I brought my first BMW during COVID, I refused to pay the $10,000 markup of any cars. So I wrote a letter to every BMW saying, hey, if you give me a car for this price, I'll come down and sign the paperwork tomorrow. San Francisco say, yeah, can you come down tomorrow? And oh, by the way, here's $2,000 off. No markup and $3,000 under the MSRP. This is when everybody was trying to pay $10,000 over the MSRP. And I was like, y'all pay that shit. I ain't paying none of that shit. Agency. When I walk into certain rooms, I believe I can do something. I have so much confidence in myself because I know how to say, I hear the no's, but that's just people telling me no. Doesn't mean it's not an option. Maybe it's not an option for y'all. But y'all ain't my limitation. There's 350 million people in America. There's too much competition. You can't tell me no. Now, mind you, I have some moral calculation and some reason why I'm not just going in and well, you know what? I think this school should be mine. But I understand the power of agency, which is I'm not trapped by somebody tell me no, or the first failure, or it didn't work the first time. It's like once you have agency, you know how to move with agency. You're not just bullheaded and just intense in your drive. When you have agency, it creates that experience from the outside, but you almost have belief in yourself because you know you can get the impossible done. It's automatic. It's just, can you see it? Once you see it, you don't even need what the rest of the world says. What can and cannot be done.
This is also where the way my spirituality is set up, this is where I bring God with me. So I believe firm, wholeheartedly, like between me and God, ain't nothing. Like anything, we can make anything happen. That's my personal beliefs. So it's a saying, God, anything's possible. Like I move like that because I know I don't know everything. I know I'm weak in certain spots. I know that I got blind spots around me. I know I'm an idiot over here and a genius over here. I know that stuff. But when I combine that with my spiritual beliefs, oh, it's a wrap. If I'm really locked in that space, then that gives me the confidence I need to say, even though I may not have the answers today, I got the confidence that we gonna figure it out or get to the finish line somehow.
And let me say this, but without agency, if you feel powerless. Let me reverse both of our stories. If you're powerless, it turns me into a hustler, right? I don't go from moving shit. I go into for dangling and lying and manipulating. If you don't have agency and you talk about God, He becomes that. You give all agency to God, and make yourself powerless, right? You don't partner with your relationship to your spirituality. You start to say, well, I guess God didn't want me to have it. It's just not meant for me because, maybe God just wants me to suffer. That's what He wants from me.
That's crazy.
That's literally the opposite. I'm talking from someone that just watched the opposite. I grew up around powerlessness all my whole life. And I watch how they use God to justify or as Novocaine in their powerlessness, right? And then I watch people with agency, with the same restrictions, come with the same friction, same battles, but the story outcome and the way they feel about it is totally different. This side is mentally healthy. This side is probably closer to social justice. This side is blaming the other team. This side is saying racism. This side is saying what's unfair. This side is saying, I ain't tried enough. And change the technique. This side is actually and because this side has wins, they have confidence in this belief system. This side, because they frame the world as themselves powerless, they don't have confidence. So, like, the reason I can start something with confidence and go like, okay, I do it, is because I got enough wins beneath my belt to motivate me to keep doing it. But if I've lived my whole life being powerless, my fear is not just because of the challenge in front of it, it's because I don't have agency. Agency empowers my risk taking. Mm-hmm. Next one.
Next slide, right?
Next slide.
Resilience and adaptability.
That's hella tight slide. Go ahead.
People with agency respond to failure by adjusting and trying again, not giving up.
That speaks for itself. Keep going.
Leaders with high agency adapt quickly in uncertain environments.
So when you have high agency, it helps. And what's the key thing is it increases your ability to adapt. Keep going.
A person with agency asks, what can I still control?
So we're not screaming gentrification, people. Not if you have high agency. You're not. You don't care about gentrification. You're going, how do you adapt and take control? That's it. Things will change. You're not fussing about changes. You're saying, I will adapt to this change and take advantage of the opportunities that come with that change. If you don't have agency, you're like, why is things gotta change? This is why it's important when I hear that language come into my class, I'm like, get that out of my class. That's not agency talk. Agency talk is, shit changed, so this is my new play. where you don't have agency, shit changed, and I feel so scared. I'm so depressed. I don't know what we're gonna do. That's the difference. People with agency is seen as opportunities. People without agency see it as a threat. That's it. Simple math. Simple. Next slide. Because I really want to get to his slides.
Moral and strategic leadership. Leaders with agency make values-based decisions instead of following orders blindly.
You're making money. This entrepreneur without agency. You're making money for the sake of making money. A value-based entrepreneur is moving based. They're making decisions in this world based upon what do you value, where do you stand, who are you, what do you represent, as opposed to how much I'm get paid. Right? It's almost like you're living for something greater than just agency. You understand what Court actually mentioned agency earlier. You understand how the culture, your values, your beliefs, and the systems, and how things work, and how you show up to the world. All that is part of how you move through this world, because all that's part of having agency. Agency is understanding that the ecosystem is our life. It's not you and in the world. It's you're part of an ecosystem, and if you're not tending to your responsibilities, then that's where you get your value from, as well as that's where you actually, it's almost like the wolf, how a wolf lives in the environment. Agency gives us the reciprocity to that environment, where we're building a relationship with that environment. Go ahead.
They are less likely to go along with harmful systems and more likely to stand for what is right. Agency gives you the power to say no, especially when it matters most.
Trust me when I say that. Like that's, go ahead, Ewan, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna kind of comment after you were done.
No, go ahead.
To go back kind of in a sort of sense and still here. You could even say like gentrification, because you mentioned that, is sort of a bit of agency by itself, right? It's not exactly like what it is, but who's doing it.
Explain.
Like everywhere you look, there's Chinese markets, there's Asian markets, right? You got bazaars and stuff, which are like Indian markets and all that. But there's no Afrocentric areas. So if we were the ones gentrifying our own areas, we could create the rules and the laws within.
Yeah, that's agency. Yes. Yeah. So when cultures, a lot of times, gentrification comes because corporations will either move a group of people into a certain area because of opportunities. That corporation's taking agency. Doesn't mean that it takes away from your agency. You still have agency choices. Matter of fact, if you made agency choices before they arrived, you could have changed the outcome of that migration and forced them to even build more to accommodate their agency, right? Downtown Oakland, we didn't have no agency over downtown Oakland. And then when the other groups came in and gentrified it, we said, oh, gentrification. But you don't get to use that term if you don't have ownership of your space. And that means not only just own the properties, but own the businesses and own the ecosystem around those properties. And so a lot of times why a wolf or somebody who's an entrepreneur who says, I'm not going to sit here too long and fuss about that's not fair. We also understand that culture never stays in one place forever. Like you go back and look at Oakland 100 years ago, it would look like a very different cultural mix-up. And you'd be like, wow. So that culture could easily argue that, man, they gentrified us. Like we gentrified at one point East Oakland from white folks, right? Latinos used to be in West Oakland. They gentrified that part of Oakland from, I think it was black folks. I think that area was black folks. And they gentrified there. I mean, the culture's always moving. So as an entrepreneur understands that that's the nature of the wild. Complaining about gentrification at all is a waste of our conversation. It's really how do we adapt, adjust, and grow. Changing of the market, the economy goes down, if the taxes go up, gas prices go up, all this shit that happens around us, we have to adapt. Agency which says, okay, where are my opportunities? People who don't have agency, especially if you watch all the news, oh my God, gas prices are going up, inflation, taxes. This is crazy. How are we gonna live in California? Wait a minute, California has the most money, it's attracting the most. What the fuck are you talking about? California has all this money coming here. Of course our expensive living is gonna be higher. We got to do the math, and if you do the math, you realize it ain't that much different. Because if I go to Midwest, I ain't getting these kind of jobs. I ain't making this kind of money. I ain't charging these kind of prices, right? So what I'm saying, what I'm arguing is that there's a whole language around unfairness is the opposite, is the language of the powerless. Those who understand agency, we're not talking about unfairness. We're talking about opportunities, even in the face of unfairness. I'm not saying that unfairness does not exist in some context. I'm saying for us, we're adapting and making the best decision to continue, because you don't get to pause life or human existence because somebody else did something you didn't like. If a whole group of people does some shit they like, you still got to make sure the babies are fed and people are sleeping, eating and living. And so because life is still moving, no matter how you feel, it's more important for you to figure out how to continue to move forward and have ownership than to stop and sit while life moves by you while you sit there and pout. Next one.
Purpose-driven action. With agency, you're not just reacting. You're designing your life and business around purpose.
Purpose. I can't be. Entrepreneurs without purpose are sad. Some sad folks. It's a very painful thing. And also too, you see what even, let's talk about nonprofits. Nonprofits who don't have a solid purpose, as they raise money, they don't know who the fuck they are no more. Because they start to respond to just the opportunities that are in front of them as opposed to, nah, we're here for this. This is our purpose. When you have a purpose, because at the end of the day, you can't do everything. You can't solve all problems. So agency does have restrictions. Go ahead.
Can I just make you a comment?
Yeah.
It makes me think about the comment that Kaja said last week about how, like, she sees all these entrepreneurs, wolves or whatever, and they're sad or depressed from her perspective. And it made me think about how many of those people are attempting to run a business without purpose.
Yeah, that is a ground for depression, is trying to run a business for just self-value over purpose. I mean, like, you just trying to, I want to be able to look as good as this person, doing comparisons, right? As opposed to, I want to build a business because I want to impact this in society. I want to change this in society. I want to make these things different. That makes you a way better entrepreneur. And this is where, when you don't have agency trying to run a business, it's a dangerous space. Go ahead.
Leaders use this to set clear visions and take intentional steps towards them.
There you go. Next slide. Because I want to get this. Because
Summary. Why agency matters. Agency is the root of empowerment. Without it, people drift. With it, they create, lead, and grow, even under pressure.
Remember, the course said people just doing what they want and they drifting. What plays social media is powerlessness communication. Agency communication is always directional. When you meet agency-based environments, go anywhere with agency, it's very directional. Everybody's trying to go somewhere. It's very clear on what people are trying to do, right? And there's rules and there's etiquette. It's how you dress. It's how you talk. It's how you greet people. It's they pay homage to the past. They acknowledge historical figures and members that they stand on their shoulders and all these variables, right? This new generation, this is one of my biggest. This is one of the reasons I left the super pro black movement in the 90s or early 2000s. Because I was like, yo, you guys are destroying the mental brain relationship to agency. You're telling them that white people control everything. No matter what they do, white people are going to always win. So when you send that, it's easy for them to buy into powerlessness. And when they buy into powerless, what happens? The people drift. And without it, the people drift. With it, it was more than drift. The people, let's use the word drift. Drift is a sense of saying, it's almost like the Sodom and Gomorrah layout, right? When you drift, everything is everything. All rules out the doors. Do what the fuck you want. That's why, to me, the Sodom and Gomorrah to me wasn't a story about just sin. It was a story of agency. When the people get to the point, to me, and this is, I'm going to just kind of step to the side and follow me, because you might be Islam, you might be atheist, whatever the fuck you are. I think the ultimate heaven on earth for a Christian is agency, because the values, it's the culture, the way that things move, those rules, the sense of why you're here, where you're going, what power you have, what you can change, domain, When you move in that space, like, you just move in this space where there's a way we do things. There's rules to the game. It's how we move, how we greet each other, I don't sleep with your wife. There's just these basics we just don't do, right? That's a strong that's a sign of a strong culture, right? That's a sign of a culture that can have economic strength. If you ask me who has more power, the Mormons or social justice, Mormons by 1,000 miles. They have structure. I'm not saying I agree with, it's not about agree or disagree. I'm not trying to make that a religious argument. What I'm trying to argue is that when you start to see culture drift to the point that local government are building infrastructure to stop the drift from impacting others. I mean, they're putting extra walls, extra barriers, extra protection, extra rules, extra police, extra this. That's a sign of economic deterioration. That's a sign of people who don't have agency. When people have agency, go to a city where people have agency. It feels different. When we went to Austin, Texas, right? You didn't go. But we went to Austin, Texas. It made us see, oh shit, this is what it feels like when somebody has agency. There was just rules baked in society. We ain't doing this. We don't move like that. We don't say these things. We don't show up like this, right? And that those rules kind of gave you a sense of, oh man. So if you open up a business, you almost know what rhythm to listen to create what you want to create. Where in Oakland or in some of these wild cities, I don't know what the fuck to do next. You really don't know what the fuck to, like, think about this. You got to worry about cat driving a car through your fucking window. I mean, through the front of your store. That's a drift. Agency says, we're not having that shit. Like retail theft, like that's a drift. That's a statement of the people feel hopeless and powerless. And they're not hopeless and powerless. It's, if they don't know they're not, then they are. If you believe you're hopeless and powerless, then you are. It's really a reframing of life, and yet, but the reason it's self-sealing is because hopelessness reduces innovation, and it makes you feel focused on the problem over the solution, which then puts you back in the space of being hopeless, and you're just kind of in this cycle now. And so that's the biggest challenge. Like African people, black people, we are some of the most culturally we can do anything in the world. Anything the world can yield to us, we have the power to do. However, quite often we fall short not because of white supremacy. If you stop making white people gods, they're not gods. They don't have the ability to stop everything you do. Ask dope dealers. They don't have the power to stop everything you do. What's killing us is the training that we received from slavery and Jim Crow and the crack era has made us buy into these ideas of what we can't, and we're not spending more time talking about what we can. And on top of that, the risk that goes along with what we can do and the pressure and the stress that goes along with what we can do, a lot of us don't want to bear it because it's too hard for us. Like a lot of us don't dream of big business because it's too hard for us. It's like, oh, that would hurt so much. It would be so risky. That's that poor relationship with agency. So agency, there's two things that a lot of us are suffering from when we come into this class. We don't have agency, and we're moving like dogs. And so if you don't have agency, you move like a dog. Me and Court, Mashama, Pastor Chris, T. Pratt, we sound hella mean. We sound like ass. Now when we're amongst each other, we're all funny to each other. Like I promise you, I never laugh so hard except when I'm hanging out with these brothers, right? But we also never thought so complex except when I'm hanging out with these brothers. Because we're always like trying to expand each other's thoughts and ideas and whether we're showing, we're always trying to nudge each other. Like literally we're looking at each other going, what's the area you can improve on? Now, if you don't admit it, we're going to look for it. And then we're going to push you in that area. Like literally, we're going to push you in that area. And I'm talking about all the way down to what kind of foods are you eating right now? So I can't begin to tell you this agency thing is really that impact of slavery, Jim Crow that I talked about that hope is here for. In order for us to get past that, we're going to have to learn how to think, feel, and be different so we can grow the businesses to the proper levels to have huge impact in our communities across this nation. Next slide, because I want to get to the course.
Last one?
Ain't the last one.
Well, for...
No, skip. Go,
Oh, okay.
go, because I want to get to course.
Cool, sorry.
Let's go, son. Let's go.
Go ahead, Shakina.
Theory of relativity. First, a quick recap of Einstein's theory, simplified. Time and space are not absolute. They change depending on your speed and position.
That's so, okay, read that again. That's so much fire.
Time and space are not absolute. They change depending upon your speed and position.
First of all, the picture and that thought, that's how you should feel right now. This is going to be so good. That I promise you. He gave this concept to me, so I kind of expanded it. You see, I got to clean that up. Expanded the ideas. But I'm excited about him teaching this. But I don't think you understand. Like, Court sometimes teaches really deep lessons, deep high-level strategy. And he's so good at making sure that everybody can understand it. But I really want you to understand how powerful this is. Go ahead.
There is no single universal point of reference. Everything is relative to the observer.
Theory of relativity. So how does this connect to the entrepreneur? All right. Does everybody understand that part, that time and space are not absolute? We're going to go slow. Time and space are not absolute.
This is going to get deep as a motherfucker. Go, let's go.
So time and space, and guess what? All of these are still theories, which means us humans haven't even figured it all out yet. Einstein was the smartest guy on the planet at the time. And scientists and physicists have been born after him and still haven't expanded deeply beyond that theory of relativity. So that shows you how impactful and deep this was. But time and space changes based on your position. Time changes based on your position. It happens even in real. Have you ever been with somebody that you really, really, really enjoy and it felt like 5 minutes and it was 5 hours?
Yep. Have
Have you ever been with somebody you really, really irritated by and it felt like 5 hours and it was 5 minutes? That's
Damn, you still here?
That's proof of that right there. So let's go to the next slide.
Entrepreneurial mindset lessons from relativity. Perspective is everything. In reality, two observers can see the same event differently and both be right.
Okay, let's stop right there.
Yeah, I'm about to throw something at you.
That one is huge. So
Let's go.
that's why a couple weeks ago we were talking about relativity and the point that you came up with, Chiquina, the question that you had. The depth of an entrepreneur is in their ability to see as many perspectives as possible. That's really all there is to it. If you call yourself an entrepreneur and you look at things only from one perspective, then you are limiting yourself. You're setting yourself up for future failure. Who gives a fuck if you're right? I don't care. Like, what matters is you only have one perspective. That's all that matters. So if you say, well, I don't think it's right to be so and so, or I don't think it, like, but that's not right that this thing, that means you're moving from a space of right and wrong and you're trying to find the right answer. Entrepreneurship is in coherence with the theory of relativity, saying, hey, how many sides is this bottle? Like, the average person is going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. But an entrepreneur is going to see so many sides that is unlimited. So that if there's an issue, most people are only thinking on the side. And we might say, turn it on this bottom. Turn it on this little curvy part right here. Stick it in the curvy part. Because the problem was a V. And put it in. Y'all so nasty.
Hey, I'll be back, bro. I didn't need some room.
Y'all so nasty. See, black people, you can't. Yes, the gender neutral guys, my friend. So understand that, like, it's not about you having the right answer. You are a weak entrepreneur if you have the right answer, period. What makes you a strong entrepreneur is how many answers you have. Meaning, how many perspectives do you have?
Yes.
How many perspectives do you have? Is the right one in there? Sure. But entrepreneur to entrepreneur, I'm like, okay, how many angles can you see it? And if you can only see shit from one angle, that's the work for you. All right, write that one angle down. Now, man, sit there and stare at the wall till you can come up with a second option. All right, got one. Even if it's a stupid one, got one. And that's your practice. That's the muscle. That's the exercise. Is the theory of relative, knowing that everything is relative. What's cold is not cold. It's cold relative to what you think is cold. Because like the example we gave last time, if I was talking to a guy and he was like, yeah, man, I love coming to this place during the winter. And me and my woman looked at him like, what? He's like, yeah, it's not a lot of people here. I get kind of the place to myself. And so I'm like, yeah, but it's cold. He's like, I'm from Russia. See how you said, oh, it changed the perspective relative to where he's from. He said, I'm from Russia. See how that changed it? That's the beauty of relativity. So there's a whole market now that I can invite. I can go find Instagram ads. I can target people from Russia. So in the wintertime where that particular resort is empty, I can target Instagram ads to people from Russia to invite them to that resort, and then I can generate revenue during the winter. You see what I'm saying? That's why perspective is everything. How many options you have. Let's keep going.
In entrepreneurship, customers, competitors, and founders all experience your business differently.
Remember this. A lot of times businesses where a lot of us fuck up is that you do shit you like. You focus only on what you like. Only on what you think is cool. Only on what you think is dope. Only on you. What you have to understand is you can have 10 customers and all 10 customers experience your business from a different perspective. Mm-hmm. And if you say, why do you like us? Why do you like us? Why do you like us? You might get completely different answers. The goal is understanding those perspectives allow you to show up in a way that you can show up to those customers at the same time. The same reason some people like Jay-Z is a different reason why other people like Jay-Z. Kendrick Lamar just came to the forefront of a society. There's people who you laugh at their reasons why they like him versus somebody like, no, but he's just so deep and lyrical. Doesn't matter. As long as you have the ability to continuously show up to these people, that's how you grow. So perspective is everything.
Let me also ask in the perspective of everything. You have to manage all those relationships, customers, your relationship to competitors. Is it customer, competitors, founders all experience much different? Okay, your customers, your vendors, competitors, they need a strategy for all those. They don't just. You don't say, I don't care about what my customers think. I don't give a fuck about anybody else. All of that stuff affects you. And sometimes you can so for example, you can over compete. You know how you go over compete? Do you ever heard about restaurants who compete with other restaurants and they win a Michelin star, a couple of Michelin stars, and then go out of business? You know why that happens? Because they stop serving the customers, start serving the competition over customers. So you can become so focused on competition that you're no longer qualified to serve your customers, right? And so you got to have a strategy on when are we so competitive to the point that we're no longer hearing our customers. Also, what if you're not supporting your vendors or your suppliers, whoever you're working with, right? All that's an ecosystem to make your business run a certain kind of way. So say you have a supplier and you build a strong relationship because you worked a beautiful strategy with. You may get a cost savings, a delivery savings, a logistics savings that will give you a competitive edge. But they may even give you insight on how to even partner and structure your business in this relationship to give you a competitive edge. All that stuff, reason perspectives are important, and not just your perspectives, because you're leaving too much strategy on the table. There's just too much strategy. There's so many areas where you could have empowerment that you're victimizing yourself because you're not putting yourself in position to manage those particular areas.
Keep going, Shakina.
Mindset shift. Your truth is not the truth.
I'm laughing at the saying. Go ahead.
Success depends on your ability to see from multiple frames of reference, especially your customers.
We just talked about that. Get out of your truth. Get out of your truth.
Right? Tit for tat arguing
True.
is such an enemy to that shit.
Yeah, real entrepreneurship, we don't care if you have the right answer. We care how many answers you have. That's the real shit. Keep going.
Example, a founder thinks their app is easy to use, but users are confused and quitting. From their reference point, the app failed.
So many businesses fail because of this. So many businesses fail
Perspectives.
because of this. I think it's easy to use. Well, imagine this. Say you're a super smart individual and you're a high level individual in your thinking. Your layers of thinking is high level. So a dumbed down version of anything for you is still way above everybody's head. Now you put it into the world, you're like, I know this is gonna win. Because you thought it was simple. But people complained. I don't understand this. I don't like it. You end up quitting because the app failed and you couldn't see from other perspectives. Now you replace this app with a restaurant, with food, with clothing, with physical therapy, with personal training, with anything. Because when we get caught up inside the process too heavy and we're not looking at things from a relative perspective, stepping back away from it at all the angles and from a customer's perspective, we lose it. I'm going to invent the water that when you drink it, it goes to your fingertips and helps your fingernails grow. But it's going to be a $17 bottle of water. Everybody wants it because everybody wants good nails. I see everybody has nails, right? Like sometimes you get caught up in that weed smoking thinking. And it makes hella logical sense. And then when you put the shit out, you don't understand why I didn't win.
Wow.
Next slide.
Speed alters experience. In relativity, time slows down for objects moving near light speed. In business, the faster you grow, the more distorted time, priorities, and decisions feel.
That is so much fire.
So yeah, let's talk about time for perspective. Let's even talk about timing. Time is so important in this game because you can have the right product, right? The theory of relativity, which makes this really dope, is that you need time. You need time because it's time and space. But if you have a product and you don't have it in the rhythm of particular time, it can almost be like you never came out with it because you didn't have the time to hold the space to put your product in it. So you have to understand the ebb and flow of timing with your product. Timing is so important. So at the speed of light, weird how at the speed of light, time slows down for objects moving at the speed of light. So if you look at the way Einstein talked about it, it's like a blanket. You look at a blanket and you put the earth inside of a blanket. You see how the blanket curves down into the curvature of the earth? That's time. It bends at certain angles and spaces and times. It's not linear. So keep reading.
mindset shift. During hypergrowth or crisis, things feel chaotic or warped. You need tools to slow things down mentally, planning frameworks and delegation.
Oh, can I get some of this one? Okay. Remember I told you guys a long time ago, I said, if you're always busy, your business is trash. I don't care what you're doing, you're trash. You're probably making more poor decisions, but your perception is distorted. What has to happen for you to move in a busy space, you got to learn how to have two separate movements. How to speed up, slow down. Speed up, slow down. Slow down is to gain perspective. If you're just rushing, moving, rushing, moving, what happens is because you're moving so fast, priorities, this is when people lose family. This is when people lose relationships. This is when people lose customers. This is when people start breaking shit. This is when some people forget to replace shit. This is when people forget to do maintenance. This is when people make poor short-term decisions and fuck up the long-term decisions. This is when people borrow from the future self. All this happens from you not realizing time is creating a warping of your thinking. And so from you trying to outrun time, by default makes a brilliant person a failure. This is so cold because you got to know how to just stop, breathe, pull back and go, all right, what's going on here? Like my 2-hour bike rides is so I can slow time down and then look at things again and go, oh, fuck. No, that's a bad idea. No, go this way, not that way. But if I was moving, at the end of the project, we may get these feedbacks and it feels like foreign feedback. Like, we don't think you did a good job. And then by the time we figure out we didn't do a good job, we've already destroyed the relationship. Because at the time, we thought we did an amazing job because we moved fast, we executed with speed, and we hit all the marks. We checked off all the boxes. But because we were moving so fast, we were moving unwise. Time is time is the key to wisdom. And everything can't be done with speed. You gotta know the difference between speed and velocity. You can move slow and have velocity. But if you focus on speed over velocity, you can move fast and be a fool.
Next slide. Oh, we got a question.
So this is something that I struggle with and I'm learning about now. When you're in the rhythm of things or when you're in the middle of things, it's hard to catch yourself. Well, it's hard for me to catch myself and realize, whoa, I need to take a step back and kind of reassign, readjust, and regroup. Do you have any tools or do you schedule time in your calendar where you're like, okay, I'm going to take this time once a week to just look at my business or to walk away? Like, how do you catch yourself in that moment?
Yes, that's almost exactly what it is. You schedule time for reflection. It can even be at the gym when you're just working out slow and you're going to give yourself 2 hours to train. And in that 2 hours, you might be listening to like somebody talking about something like how to plant a tree or some shit. It doesn't even matter. But your brain is really like, did we do that well? Like you spend time, it's almost like you're reflecting on what worked, what didn't work, postmortem, premortem. You're thinking about what's coming next week. You think about what hasn't worked. You're looking at the data like, okay, I've been working really, really hard. Does that match my bank? Let me look at my bank account. How the fuck I'm working so hard? My bank account is here. All right, where am I wasting time? And at first you may have that, your emotion kicks in going back to like comparisons or what would people think? All that stuff what you talked about at the beginning of class maybe because you care too much about what people think and would you make this person happy? Would they accept you? And after a while you realize, all right, if I cut this off, like a question I asked at the beginning of class, if somebody took over my business tomorrow, what would they do different? And as you go through that list, you start saying, damn, all this shit they would do different? Then why am I still doing all these different things? And then start giving yourself permission to let that shit go. Also, you gotta be clear on what's your purpose. If your purpose is just to make money, it's hard to escape time. Purpose tells you like, am I getting closer to this purpose? Or am I just so damn busy it just gives me self-satisfaction, but I ain't getting shit done. So, because you can work really, really hard and get applause from the crowd and even make some money and feel like you went nowhere. Or if you're clear on why am I here and where am I going with this and what I want to achieve and what I want to position myself here, here, and here, and here, now I can measure Does this even make sense?
There's a tool. There's a tool that we've talked about a lot, and that's micro, macro, meta. You remember that?
Yep.
Micro is you in it, you doing the work, good reflexes, and got to be related to Shakina. The micro is you in the weeds, you doing the work. You can't be in the weeds 100% of the time. Can't, because you don't know when you're in the weeds and the weeds are taller than you don't know where you are. You just working. You don't know where you are. You don't know if you've crossed over into somebody else's land, you by the swamps, you don't know where you are. Macro gives you a higher view of what you're doing. Oh shit, I made a left over here. I'm supposed to be going this way. And meta is, what's the purpose of this? What's the direction? What's the destiny of this? Those are the three, and you have to schedule those times out. You can't. It's not going to happen organically. That's for sure. Because time is going to get ahead of you, and you
Always.
say just one more thing, one more time, just one more day. My one more days have turned into months. Easy, because my nature is a workhorse. Like, I can work my way through it. You have to consciously step back and say, all right, I'm gonna take a weekend and just think and process what I'm doing, come up with strategy, think about what's going on. But you gotta pencil that in. You gotta pencil it in.
Let me give you another example. This is kind of cool. Crisis happens. Pow! The first thing I ask is how much time I have. I got that much time. Let's say the solution, no matter what happens, if we solve the problem within 4 days, we're good. What some people would start doing is from day one, go crazy. 1, 2, 3, 4. How I can come in time? You know what none of does? For day one, I'm going to sit back and just start asking questions, talking, thinking about it, processing it. What does this really mean? Do I even have to go this way? Can I just let this one go? Do I have to go in this way? What's the cost of this? What are my alternatives? Then by the time I take off on it, I'm moving slower, but I'm much more effective. Well, some of us go, and then I just gotta be here. I just gotta. And you realize you're sitting in a room and everybody's working around you and you ain't have no contribution besides looking like a worried ant. While everybody's looking at you like, okay, we're working on it. Calm down. You're not doing anything. Sometimes you're just walking away and looking at other solutions. And what happens, the problem that had 40 steps, by the time I processed it and gave myself some time, I took it down to 3 steps. And those 3 steps are now doable. I know where to go. I even have alternative. I have optionality of 6 to 9 steps. If those 3 don't work, to kind of like follow up on those optionality. And then when I come out of it, you're like, damn, like you were cool, calm, and collective. You see athletes, a lot of athletes who move like that. Where you see an athlete who's just panicking and going crazy, and they make more mistakes, and they start doing stupider shit because they're letting time rule them as opposed to building a relationship where you can have a relationship with time.
Next slide.
No absolute position, only relative equity.
Come on, dog. Let's go.
In physics, you can only measure position compared to something else. In business, your market position is relative to competitors, trends, and timing, not absolute.
Okay, let's stop. That's a real shit right there. So in business, your market position is relative. Understand that. Once that I'll call it a limitation or barrier moves past your brain, now you're able to see the world in different colors and different opportunities. Meaning now you can service other communities. You know how to show up for other communities. Or you know why certain communities rock with you. Like there's certain communities that are foreign to you in business, but they just may line up and want to fuck with you. And you like, wonder why? And it just could be because your mustache is cut a certain way that a particular culture or race of people cut their mustache, and it just reminds them of that. It could be that simple. Or you may be a black man, but you may look like a particular culture that you're foreign to, and they just feel comfortable around you. Like there's so many angles and ways and reasons. We talked about Patti LaBelle when she first came in the game, and Patti LaBelle's market was us, black folks, singing her songs to black folks, singing her songs. And then she started noticing the transgender community showing up for her, selling out, packing out stadiums, because the way she dressed, flamboyant, over the top, it was a reflection of a particular community. She was like, oh shit, okay, I'm gonna embrace this. So in the 80s, and like understand the relativity. So now that's the reference point for wherever you are. You're relative to a trend, or you're relative to a competitor. You're relative to timing. What's his name? Silence asked, like, how do you got to keep switching up and you got to keep changing? Yeah, you do. Because timing will dictate, especially in our industry. Timing will dictate. Literally, the outfits that some of you guys have on will be here today, and 2 weeks from now it's gone. Not only gone, you'll get capped on for having it. The next thing you know, you in and you don't even know why. Like, why is all these youngsters flirting with me? Like, hey, because OGs with beards is in now. That's how trends go. You know, I laugh at my partner who he's been dressing the same way since he got out of high school, because that was his claim to fame, right? But there was a time around 2010, 11 that his particular exact style came back. And he was like, I'm winning. My whole closet is winning right now. I'm like, you got about 6 months, so soak this shit up. Because that's timing. Keep going.
We just real quick on this one. Volatility. This is also less than volatility. Remember I said in business, there's uncertainty, randomness, and volatility. Meaning that, why is this important? You ever been in a business meeting with somebody and somebody's talking about business plan in absolutes? This is why I don't like business plans in absolutes. Because it all depends on everything's relative to that business plan. So if anything changes from the time you wrote that plan up to the time you execute, or any variable you did not see, then all your plan goes under. So that's why you have to hold plans loosely. They could be incentives. Plans could be incentives, but they're not absolute because they're all relative. Go ahead.
Yep. Keep going.
Mindset shift. You don't need to be number one in the world. You need to be number one in your customer's mind or niche market.
Period. You don't need 1 million followers either. You don't need 100,000 followers. You can be a millionaire. You can be a millionaire.
Billionaire.
Straight up. With 5,000 loyal followers. Like, it's all relative.
All relative.
And this is one of my marketing strategies is like where we have been really strong in our company for a long time is the particular certain sizes. We have our bell curve for certain sizes high, and it's like youth sizes. Mm-hmm. We realize to a 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old kid, they don't know that we not as big as Nike. They don't know. They see the gear. They walk into a Courtsmith store. They see it all. A 12-year-old don't know that we not the same size. Mm-hmm. So I get dads all the time perplexed, like, the fuck? Like, my partner, he's a super popular DJ on the radio and for the Warriors, that kind of shit. He was like, Court, blood. I asked my son what he want for my birthday. I know Steph Curry personally. Like, I DJ for the Warriors. And he was like, I asked him to write his birthday list, and he's like, I want something and some Courtsmith gear. And he's like, what? That's my homeboy. Like it was just hard to wrap his his mind around it because he don't realize his 12, 11-year-old son don't know the difference. So all you have to do is be number one in their minds. You have to cloud their minds. So we just focus on these kids. They don't know the difference. They don't until they're like 19, 18, 19, they won't know the scalability and sizes. So they feel the same feelings. So I was like, hey, let's do something better. Bring them to the office. Let them know, like, that's my partner. And I'm going to walk him through. We're going to spoil him. I'm going to give him hella shit. So he brought him and his son came to the office. I welcomed him. His eyes was like hella big. I'm like, man, your pops used to be my DJ when I was a rapper. That's how far we go back. So this is my dog. So you can pick, get whatever you want. So he ran in there and grabbed a whole bunch of shit. And he's like, you don't really realize what you did, because you don't have to be number one in the world. You just have to corner a particular market and soak up all those spaces in their mind. That's how cults are created. That's how small niche brands are created.
That's tight. That is so damn tight.
Thanks. Keep going.
Example, you're not competing with Amazon. You're out positioning other small businesses in your community.
Period.
That's 100. Hey, real quick. Remember when Kendrick Lamar did the Super Bowl and there was people like, oh, there's a certain group of people don't even like what he said, or they tuned him out. Highest views in the history of the Super Bowl, right? Then Charleston Pierce, I think I heard him say, yeah, people in the South don't even listen to Kendrick Lamar. He doesn't need the South, people. That's not how it works. Even who you know that doesn't listen to him, that means you really said nothing. Like literally, that was such poor reasoning. The way with 350 million people, if he gets 2 million people to say we riding with him, he's got a killer album, right? So the whole idea of everybody don't like somebody. Some of y'all who are on the social media world are people pleasers. You're trying to get everybody to like you, and this point is so well framed. The world's not meant for everybody to like you or your products. Yeah. But once you find that market that does, get into their mind. Don't try to compete with Amazon. Mm-mm. That comparison will kill your business. You can't. It's important that you win the minds of your customers as their favorite product. Supreme products, right? I think Supreme products is overrated like a motherfucker, right? Because somebody used my credit card this weekend. They try to go to Supreme website, so I try to call Supreme. They don't answer the phone. The stores don't answer the phone. They have no customer service. You send me an email to get back to you when they're ready to get back to you, right? You can't walk in Supreme and go shopping. You got to set up an appointment and then let certain people in because they don't want lines in their stores. It's some crazy shit, right? To my generation, fuck y'all. But to somebody young, it's everything. Mm-hmm. And they don't and they're in the minds of their customers, and they talk that shit. I read their website like, y'all fall for this shit, right? But then look at me and my Harley shit. Somebody might be like, no, that Harley shit don't make no motherfucking sense. Oh, $100 paycheck company, right? You're right, to you. To me, that's the shit, right? And so that's, you gotta understand that none of us, I don't think there's any company where everybody in the world goes, oh my God, everybody loves them. Michael Jordan got into a mind of a certain group of people and he stays in their mind. They just had a shoe released in New York, I think it was last weekend or weekend before last, for these new Chinese version of the Jordans with a Chinese logo on the front of it. $200 a piece, sold out like seconds. He's in their minds. And these are all young kids. These motherfuckers never seen Michael Jordan jump a day of his life. All they saw Michael Jordan do is smoke and sweat. Because he's always sweaty. But go ahead.
Hey, you guys ever see, you guys know who the Liver King is? You guys know who the Liver King is? Liver King is a guy who, he got popular. None of you guys know who he is, right? Which is to the point.
One person.
So he got popular because he's a muscular, buff dude, always walking around with his shirt off, and he promotes this lifestyle, eating raw liver. So he does this disgusting shit where he'll eat liver he'll pull liver out of a dead cow and eat it, or he'll cut the testicles off and eat the testicles in front of the camera. So he got hella popular, and he promoted this lifestyle, right?
You into that, huh?
In the what? Say it. I want to hear you say it. Say the whole thing. What am I into? You got to say it. Yeah, camera's on. No? Okay. So, hello. So he ended up getting really popular. So he started selling supplements to go along with that lifestyle. Can anybody guess how much he made last year in selling his own supplements? None of y'all know who he is. But anybody guess how many he made? $100 million.
Holy cow.
Wow.
He sold $100 million in supplements. And nobody in this room know who he is.
That's wild.
You don't need a fucking big ass crowd. Who listens to Tech Nine, the rapper? One person, kinda. He's one of the highest grossing artists. He's one of the highest grossing artists in the industry. And only one person halfway listens to him. So get off that shit like you gotta be the most popular number one. It's relative. It's relative. It's so relative.
Actually, that's also you also mentioning a solution around some of the limited thinking around racism. They got everything sold up. You're not trying to get everything sold up. There's no such thing. There's no such thing as a juggernaut. You can go to the industry that Google has and find a market that will serve you and kill the game, and never get as big as Google and kill the game. So there's no such thing as big fish is always going to take the small fish. There is with 8 billion people on this earth, or close to 8 billion people, close to 350 million people in the United States. The options there's so many options out there that are underexploited. It's almost limitless. And so the whole idea of what you can't do, why it makes no sense to me, because the math says we have a world of optionality, not a world of limitations.
I think we should stop here.
Okay. What time is it?
9:20.
Okay, how many more slides we had?
2.
2?
1,
4?
3.
Oh, okay. Well, let me see. What was the next one? Let me just see what the next one was.
EMC squared.
Yeah, these are deep.
Can we come back? Can you just come back with that? And we'll just come back. Okay, we'll come back with that because I might want to just jump on some of that. That's just E equals MC squared. All right, listen. Next week when we get back, next week is a week off. So you show up here next week. You'll be hanging with pigeons because I won't be here. 2 is when we come back. There's a word that we use in this class that I think we bastardize enough. I can't take it. We use the word scale. I'm going to actually teach the principle, just the word scale, that principle in itself, and show you how you have to use that equation. How once you understand scaling, it can turn a good idea to a bad idea and a bad idea to a good idea. So if you don't understand scaling, you can say that's a bad idea, and you scale, you're like, oh, it's an amazing idea. And it's vice versa. You might say this idea is a great idea, and scaling go, what the fuck were we thinking, right? If you don't understand scaling and you care about social issues, you don't have any power to see social issues, because it's impossible to see social issues without scaling. If you understand scaling, you can see when something bad is good and when something good is bad. But if you don't understand the formulas and the equations, I don't try to simplify the formulas as much as I can, but the goal is to, if you understand scaling, when I hear people talk about business challenges, life challenges, relationship challenges, choices they're making every day, strategical thinking, what I'm not hearing enough of is how they're using the tool called scaling. Once you use scaling, you can see how a 2% opportunity is a multi-million-dollar opportunity, right? But if you don't understand scaling, 2% seems like it's a waste of your fucking time. And you'd be talking about like, I ain't got time for this low end shit. When it's like, no, that you just missed an opportunity of a lifetime. So you won't even understand different margins. You won't understand pricing strategy. Scaling is at the heart of all this mathematical engagement of business. And so when we come back from 2 weeks, I'm gonna start the class off with giving a better explanation of what is scaling, and then putting in some examples. So you can kind of like, oh shit. So then when you go back and look at your business, the numbers will look different. It's not a simple mathematical equation. Once you add scaling to certain things, you'll realize. Remember I did an example of this is a 0 and this is a billion. I would ask people where did a million sit, and people are like, oh, millions here. And I'd be like, no, you can't see a million because it's so close to 0, right? If this is a billion, this is 0. Million is so close to 0, you can't even see where the million sits from afar. And that was to show people that they can't see numbers. Well, why is that important? If you're trying to use scaling in your favor and you don't see numbers, the equation is, it's almost like saying 1, 2, what's the answer? Is it plus or minus, Donna? I just said 1 and 2. If you don't understand the size of numbers, then if I try to teach you scaling, it's like losing the plus, the minus, or the times, or the fraction sign. Or the division sign in the middle. That becomes invisible to you, and so now you just have these numbers around you that you don't know anything to do with them. Once you have scaling, understand scaling, you will understand how even a value system or a behavior pattern or a flaw, or and I close out with this one. Here's a principle of scaling that's really simple, easy for you to get. Graffiti on the wall, beautiful piece of art. Let it scale, and let scaling run across diversity. Now he can draw, I can't draw, you can draw, he can't draw, and now everybody's drawing on the walls. It goes from art to chaos to damaging our city. So something that started off really beautiful, scaled, by the time it goes to diversity and scaling, becomes chaos and destruction. So that's why when you hear somebody go, oh, that's so beautiful, don't scale that idea. You scale that idea, we're causing social destruction. And this is something you might say, oh, it doesn't really matter. You scale that idea, it changes everything. So scaling is something we throw around all the time. And if I could get you to understand it, that you could go back and look at your business and see where there'd be some areas that you're not pouring energy into that can actually drive growth, and there's some areas that you're pouring hella energy into, and that shit grows, it's going to destroy your business, because it's actually become your profit margins. As that scales, you'll lose more money than you'll make. So we're going to scale it when I get back, and we'll finish this relativity. I was really excited about it. There's some deeper. I'm trying to give you. So a lot of these things we're teaching in this class is these invisible principles. Same to when a wolf is in the field, they have to see all these invisible rules. A dog never needs to see these rules. They don't have to. Dog needs to just focus on obedience over everything. As long as they're obedient, they get their rewards, right? Because there is no reward system for the wolf, we gotta see all these invisible variables and systems. And if you don't see the systems, you bring your ass out of here. Throw a domestic dog out in the middle of the woods where there's no other humans around. That dog is gonna die because it needs certain elements. It needs certain elements to cue it on what to do next. Well, wolf, we have to know all these invisible elements that that the average person who walks in the woods won't see it, but we can smell it, sense it. We can pick up on it. We know these things exist. Everybody else doesn't exist, and we even know how to hunt because of these things. That the average person be like, oh, it's just some stream of water, some trees and grass, mosquitoes and shit like that, right? It's like, no, these are all messagings to the animal who's a wolf. And so the reality is that it's critical that you learn these other variables. Otherwise, you're out here in the field living like a wolf and you're starving for a reason. So that being said, see you guys in 2 weeks. It's been a dope ass class. Anything you guys want to close out with saying? Because I'm tired of talking about all these other foreign cultures. I'm tired of trying to translate.
Peace and chicken grease.
Hey, East Oakland, Southern South. You, Shakina?
No, I was just reading the comments on YouTube to see if anybody had but no questions.
Okay, cool. All right, y'all. Have a good weekend.